「 Hello, hello. Good evening. Hello, hello. You both are so super the early, like. Hi, how are you doing? I hope you're good. I was like, wow, damn. Who could it be already in chat when I was just about to hit the start streaming button? Hi. It is Wednesday, my dudes. You're only a bit early, yeah, but still. How are you? I hope you're good. We are back with this game. You know how I said on Sunday, like, oh damn, I wonder how much more of his route we have left. Blah 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 blah. If the rest of his route is really only like 5 minutes long, I'm gonna be mad as hell. But to be fair, I don't know, these 2 days passed really quickly. I don't know about you guys, but I have not been sleeping well lately. Well, lately, like ever since the weekend. Like the past few days, I literally only got up, went to work, got home, ate, and slept. So today is the first day of the week that I actually am using my computer right now. And sitting in a chair because I've just spent the past 2 days in bed as soon as I was able to. So I'm hoping that the story will be fantastic today. Because I feel like I'm going to fall asleep any second now. And I don't know why, because I go to bed on time, but I'm still so tired. Oh yeah, did I make a save where we needed last time? I should have, right? This is still previously read? What? What the fuck even happened last time though? Aha! Right. But we made a bunch of food. That's what we did last time. I already forgot everything as usual. But it's okay. Forgot to watch the what I missed. Ah, yeah, nothing much happened. It was just a bunch of deaths. Because and bad endings. They were literally all variations of us running out into the woods and the wizard killing us. Some of them with so little text. Like honestly, the first ones we saw were pretty much like the ones with the most text, and then every time again the deaths were a little different. Like one time, I don't know, he like rammed a knife into us and stuff, and like in one ending he didn't even say anything. There was just a dot, and so there's really nothing you missed. And now we're going for the happy ending, so no worries. No worries. But I forgot where I made that save. Did I choose the... Did I make the choice already for the good ending? We will see. If we end up in another bad ending, well, that's... Still saw the one where you didn't say... Ah, okay, yeah. I wish I knew which we've seen. Because I still as soon as we see the happy ending, we will be able to go to the memories as well. Because my achievements for this game are bugged. There's lots of people saying they have the achievements bugged, and this happens for all of the games for some reason. I didn't have a problem with the first one, but the second one was bugged for me as well. Like none of the achievements would unlock, despite me doing everything needed. And then like sometime later on when I went to read the bad endings for the second one, because you know we didn't do those on stream, then suddenly all of them really unlocked, and I was like, okay, cool. So I'm hoping maybe this will happen for this game as well, because it would be nice to see what we already have, because everything you can do in this game has an achievement. But well, maybe. Not by myself. My brother Cinderella and Red Riding Hood both helped me. I shot a wink in their direction. And we made it all for you, Snow White. Yeah. Now then, right this way, my good sir. I led him by the hand to the table. I prepared a buffet, all for you. Feel free to eat whatever you like and as much of it as you like. He froze, holding his plate. He hung his head. Maybe we'll find out why he can't eat as well. At his stubborn refusal, my brother seemed to lose their patience. Good evening! How are you? Alright, we had that talk about him maybe suffering from that one condition. I remember. Snow White raised his voice. I'm good, I'm just tired. Well, that's nothing new, I'm always tired. No, that's a valid fear. Like me personally, I have emetophobia, which is you know, the fear of like anything and everything to do with when you have to puke. Like talking about it is alright to an extent, but like I personally suffer very much when it's mentioned or shown, or well, let's not even talk about the smell, but like the noises. So lots of TV series where they go drinking and stuff. For some reason, they always obviously have someone throw up, and I just sit there like, not a fan. So I can definitely understand what he's going through with, like, he fears he cannot keep anything down because it tastes awful. Ew. I wonder how he developed that. Is that why you've never tried anything I made? Because it feels like it's maybe in response to a trauma. I don't think anyone is born with their taste buds going absolutely haywire. I thought back to the apple pie his mother had given me. It was moldy and inedible. Perhaps that was the only flavor Snow White could taste. I grabbed a shaking hand and squeezed tight. You're so cold, and you're deathly pale. You haven't eaten in a long time, have you? He stared darkly at the floor. Go ahead and spit it out if you have to. I won't be offended, because I'm going to keep trying until I find something you can eat. Like I said, I'm going to help you. Listen, Snow White, if I'm going to heal you, then I have to either solve your problem or find a compromise. Otherwise, you'll be trapped in this waking dream for eternity. So I'll do whatever it takes. I'm going to fulfill my purpose. Huh? Wait, what does me making food for you have to do with me dying? But before I could answer... Oh no. Mother ran into the cafe looking white as a sheet. What the fuck do you want? She dashed over and pulled me into a hug. Me, not Snow White. She was crying. Mother? I frowned dubiously. Then she cupped my face in her hands. Who does this woman think we are? What? What? Ma'am? she looked around the room.
この人たちは誰?
As Snow White stared down at the floor in terror.
この子に何をしたの?
いや、俺たちは。
But the moment Cinderella tried to reach out,
近寄らないで.
hey, Mother pulled me a step back.
母様。
私はあなたの母親じゃない。私の子供はこの子だけ。
Huh?
あなたたちにこの子は渡さない。
Ma'am, we are not related.
この子に近づかないで。
Tears filled her eyes as she trembled. Nevertheless, she fought bravely to protect me from the wolves. Mother.
アリス、かわいいかわいい私の子供。
Ma'am, I don't.
帰りましょう。私たちの家に。私がずっとあなたを守ってあげるから。
I don't know you. Hello? She led me to a small cabin out in the middle of the woods. Huh, we know that cabin. What is this place?
家にいれば大丈夫だから。もう心配いらないわ。
This is our home.
ここは私とあなたの小さな小さなお城。
So, is it the same mom as the one in Red Riding Hood's story?
ここにいれば私はいつまでも。
The so-called castle was located in the same area as the mansion I'd visited. The spacious rooms and luxurious furnishings were gone, replaced with a cramped but functional living space, almost as if a magic spell had been broken. It was strange and inexplicable and downright absurd, and yet with a single word it all made sense.
アリス、
She cupped a hand to my cheek and spoke
いい
softly.
こと。あなたは他の子と違ってとってもいい子なの。
Ma'am, what the fuck?
だからお外で遊んではダメ。周りのみんなは狼なの。狼
Hello?
が悪いことをするかわからないから、お母さんがいない間、ちゃんとお留守番してるのよ。もし誰かがこの家にやってきても、
I don't like her
決して
anymore.
中に入れてはいけません。どうしたの、アリス?
Mother, why are you trying to keep me locked up in here?
それは言ったでしょ。お外は危ないからって。
You do have a point. The world can be a dangerous place, but I'm not as weak as you think I am.
何を言ってるの。あなたは忘れたの？外の世界に出た時、あなたを見る人々の好奇の目。小さなあなたでは耐えられないわ。
I'm an adult now. If I have to fight back against society, then so be it.
無理よ。立ち向かえっこないわ。それに外に出なければ傷つくこともない。道に迷うこともない。
I don't think that's how it works. Sure, but there are countless things in this world that I never discover unless I venture out there.
真実が必ずしもいいことじゃないわ。
Maybe you're right. Maybe ignorance is bliss. But you know as well as I do that the world is full of light, full of people, and not all of these people are wicked wolves.
そんなの知らない。
Hey.
あなたは私の言うことを聞いていればいいの。それがあなたの幸せなの。
Well, that's not very healthy, is it? He's his own person, you know, not better than anyone. Wait, he? I really like you, Mother. You're sweet and innocent and cheerful. You've never lost touch with your inner child. And I'm sure Snow White liked that about you too. Because he really loved you. And you really loved him, didn't you? Now, I don't know what happened between the two of you. I can't pretend to know what your suffering was like. But do you really think you can keep him locked away forever? On second thought... Listen, Snow White. I called his name.
何を?
Wait, what's happening? How long are you planning to stay cooped up in here? You can't stay like this. You have to make a change.
私は
This whole world is your dream, isn't that right, Snow White? Before he could recover, I planted a kiss on her cheek. Wait, what? Checkmate! I win. Just then. Wait, what? What's going... What? The window beside me shattered loudly and everything went dark. Instantly, an overpowering stench hit my nostrils. I quickly clapped a hand over my nose, but this did nothing to block out the smell. It was hard to describe, somewhere between rotten garbage and extra... Ooh! But suffice it to say, the stench was enough to make me puke. My eyes blurred with tears as I struggled to keep myself upright. Then my foot touched something. Ah. At first I didn't know what it was, but eventually my eyes adapted to the darkness and I realized it was a trash bag. Actually, upon further inspection, the whole room was filled with trash.
汚いだろ。家中ゴミだらけでずっと掃除もしてないんだから当然だよね。
The flat voice brought me back to my senses. Hi! Snow White was standing there in the darkness. Skin as white as snow, lips and cheek as red as an apple. Bright shiny hair, big sparkly eyes. Desperate to control my emotions, I closed my eyes and took a breath. So this is where you actually live? I lowered the hand that was covering my nose, held my breath and looked at him.
そうだよ。君には見られたくなかった。君の前では綺麗な姿でいたかった。
Okay, so there's a mess here. Okay, we clean it up.
でもそんなのは本当の俺は王子様なんて
Just a grimy man child. Okay, we clean it up together. That's okay. And who might that be? I gestured to the human-shaped thing sitting lifelessly in a chair beside him. For you see, it was the true soul that is filled. I couldn't see much in the darkness, but it appeared to be decaying, hence the smell.
母様だよ。Who killed Cook Robbie?
Huh?
I said swallow. Eat my boar and the raw. I killed Cook Robbie.
It's a Mother Goose poem, isn't it?
君なら知っていると思った。
I don't actually know it. It sounds familiar enough, but I don't know it.
だけど、殺されたのはコマドリではないし、殺したのはスズメでもない。俺が母様を殺した犯人だ。
That's a lie.
嘘じゃない。俺が母様を。
Huh? Okay, yeah, I'm glad we stopped on Sunday because... What? That's some interesting revelations. Looking back, I could remember the little white snowflakes, and as the snow fell, my mother told me a story.
昔々ある国の女王様が黒炭の窓枠に座り、ちらちらと降ってくる雪を眺めながら縫い物をしていました。ところが女王様はうっかり自分の指に針を刺してしまいました。女王様の指から流れ落ちた血は真っ白な雪の上に真っ赤なバラのように広がりました。それを見た女王様は、もうすぐ生まれてくる子供はこの雪のように白い肌で、血のように赤い頬や唇、そして本当に女王様が思っていたような雪のように白い肌で血のように赤い頬や唇、黒炭の窓枠の木のように黒い髪をした美しい女の子が生まれたのです。女王様は女の子に
Isn't the Snow White the Disney movie, the animated Disney Snow White movie? Isn't that one of their oldest movies? Mother stroked my hair as I pretended to sleep.
フリルやレース、たくさんのリボン、ずっと憧れてた。
When did that Snow White come out? I think like 1950 something.
華やかなダンス
Or 1980 something. No, I think it's really, really old.
お城のような大きな家。
1937. What? Yeah, okay, that is a really old movie.
大好きなお姫様のようになりたかった。
I like it though.
どこで間違ったのかな。
The night was as cold as ice. I pressed my hand against the window and peered outside. Tiny snowflakes fluttered down from the blanket of grey clouds overhead. All the lights were off, but thanks to the snow, the world seemed a tiny bit brighter.
ただいま。
My mother's cheerful voice called out from the entryway. I heard her thunderous footsteps headed in my direction, and then the lights clicked on.
帰りなさい。
遅くなってごめんなさい。電気つけたらよかったのに。ご飯はちゃんと食べた？
I shook my head. She peered down at me, her coat hanging from her arm. I could see my reflection in her eyes, but it was so small and fuzzy I couldn't be sure it was actually me.
どうして？お金はちゃんと置いてあったでしょ？
I didn't respond. Then she picked up the toy lying on my
ま
bed.
た余計なものを買ったのね。
I could hear anger and sadness in her voice. I was convinced she was going to yell at me, so I squeezed my eyes shut, but she simply pulled me into a
ごめん
hug.
なさい。
She was
ど
crying.
うして母様が謝るの？
こんな小さなあなたを一人ぼっちにして。好きなものを満足に買ってあげられない。苦労ばかりかけてごめんね。
母様、
I didn't understand why she was apologizing, but I understood that it was my
母
fault.
様、ごめんなさい。
I was devastated. My heart ached to think my existence was causing my mother so much pain and misery. More than anything, I wanted to be the son she wanted me to
母
be.
様、泣かないで。私、母様のお姫様になるから。だから、泣かないで。
Frills, lace, ribbons of every color, beautiful dresses, and a house as big as a castle. If that was what she wanted, then it was what I wanted for myself too. As I recall, she looked rather hurt by
どう
this,
したの？
but I was too young to understand. She pulled away and gently stroked my hair.
よく聞いて。あなたは男の子だからお姫様にはなれないの。
でも、母様は言ってた。お姫様が好きだって。
At the time, I was heartbroken that I couldn't be what she loved.
そうね。確かに私はお姫様がとっても好きよ。でもそれと同じくらい王子様も好きなの。
王子様？
そう。お母さんが読んだ物語にも出てきたでしょ。王子様はお姫様を救ってくれるの。あなたは男の子だから王子様。そしてあ
Could
な
have
た
been a
は私の王子
princess
様で
if you
もある
wanted
の。
to.
母様の王子様？なら、母様はお姫様。
私は
Yeah!
あなたの母
Really
親だから
early movies
お姫様とはちょっと違うわね。
really blows my mind sometimes. I've never seen Tron actually. The most Tron I've ever seen is the Tron in Kingdom Hearts, and that's an experience in and of itself. She smiled sadly. I desperately wanted to make her
母
happy.
様、俺、王子様になるよ。母様の王子様。
But like, speaking of old movies, well, in relation to Snow White, it's not as old, but I watched Heathers yesterday because I've been listening to the musical recording, the Broadway recording, over and over and over and over and over the past few weeks. And I have never seen the movie. So I watched that movie finally yesterday, and I am still very confused, but hey, I don't know, I think Heathers would count as a classic, maybe, so I can say, hey, I watched a classic movie, woo! What a pack of both drama movies, because see? Kingdom Hearts and its funky crossovers are good.
そして、母様を助けてあげる。
ありがとう。あなたはとって
I
も優
really
し
like
い子。
Kingdom Hearts. I have to play them
さすが。
sometime.
私の王子様
But
ね。
those games are long and a lot. My mother had me when she was fairly young, and to me she was the fairest in all the land. She loved flowers and fairy tales, she loved to dream, and she never wanted to grow up.
そうだ。何も食べてないんだったらアップルパイでも食べる？リンゴがとっても安かったの。いっぱい買ってきちゃった。あなたもアップルパイ好きでしょ？
うん、好きだよ。
Whenever she had some free time, my mother always made me an apple pie, and her apple pies were the best. Frills, lace, ribbons of every color, beautiful dresses, and a house as big as a castle. We were too impoverished to have any of these things, but we were still happy.
じゃあお母さん行ってくるから。
My mother was a busy woman. She went to work early in the morning, came home in the evening, then put on lots of makeup and left to go to her second job. Each time she left, she would summon me
い
and
いこ
say,
と？お母さんがいない間ちゃんとお留守番してるのよ。もし誰かがこの家にやってきても決して中に入れてはいけません。
わかったよ、母様。
いい子ね。じゃ行ってきます。
いってらっしゃい。
Whenever my mother wasn't around, I spent my time reading books. She would often bring them home with her and they were full of pretty princesses. But inevitably, I would doze off in the middle of a book, and when I awoke, I would find the house dark. My mother still wasn't home, so with nothing else to do, I went back to reading. Then I would get drowsy again and fall back asleep. Every day was a repeat of the last. My mother always came home late at night. Deep down, I wanted her to read me a story, but I knew she was tired and I couldn't be selfish. As I pretended to sleep, she crawled into bed with me and gave me a big
お
hug.
母さん、あなたのために頑張るからね。
I could smell a sweet flowery fragrance. Then one day, when my mother finally had a day off, we went into town together.
真っ白。
I shouted gleefully. The whole area was covered in a blanket of fluffy white snow. Snow was by no means uncommon here, but I was just so happy to be out of the house on a trip with my mother, I couldn't help but frolic in the snow. After a while, I came to a
どうし
stop.
たの？
雪が。
The pretty white snow had turned to grimy black. As I hung my head, my mother seemed to sense my sadness. She walked up to me.
これはしょうがないのよ。雪は表面に積もっただけで、その下には本当の姿を隠しているの。
本当の姿。
She pointed to the tarnished
あなた
snow.
が今踏んだところは土。雪はどんなものでも覆い隠してしまうの。
どんなものでも。
そう。
For some reason, a chill ran down my spine. Sure, the snow could hide things, but when you stepped on it, it became just as sturdy as everything beneath. Quite often the games you play make you say inevitably, and you still pronounce. Why? Why am I pronouncing it wrong? Wait, how do you pronounce it?
Inevitably.
Oh. Inevitably. Inevitably. Okay. Maybe I'll know next time. Don't look at me.
大丈夫？お母さんのコート着る？
大丈夫。
そう？あ、じゃあ手をつなぎましょうか。こうすれば少しは
Yeah,
でしょ。
I sure deserve my C2 English certificate. I speak perfect fucking English. Mother's hand felt nice and warm as it enveloped my own.
ねえ見て、ほら、可愛くない？
本当だ、可愛い。
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember. I remember when you all told me, but it didn't stick, apparently. As we walked through town, I kept overhearing certain words like cute and pretty. But that wasn't all. It felt like people were staring at me. Everyone we passed on the street seemed to be looking at me, and for some reason they all seemed to be whispering and giggling behind their hands. Reasons varied from person to person, but it didn't make me uncomfortable because I didn't sense any ill will. At one point, Mother decided to stop by the greengrocer to buy vegetables for dinner. The owner's wife took one look at me and broke into a
目
smile.
が大きくて可愛い子だね。
As she spoke, she gave me one of her apples. It was the first time a stranger had given me a gift. Startled, I looked up at my mother.
あら、いいわね。ありがとうわ。
ありがとう。
And this the woman's eyes widened in surprise. This confused me. I didn't understand why she was surprised at all.
行きましょう。
Oh, the woman probably thought he was a girl. Then my mother led me out of the store. As I would soon discover, the greengrocer's wife wasn't the only person to react that way. No matter where we went, everyone called me cute and gave me special
これっ
treatment.
て可愛いの？
And this my mother replied without
そ
hesitation.
りゃもう、すごく可愛いわ。
お姫様じゃないのに。
As far as I knew, cute was something only girls could be. But I wasn't a girl and yet they still called me cute. While I didn't mind it, I didn't really understand it. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a mother and child holding hands. Who was that? Startled, I came to a stop. The other boy stopped too. I let go of my mother's hand and approached him. Likewise, he mirrored my actions. I reached out, he reached out, our palms touched, but his carried no human warmth. I looked up and found him staring back at me in alarm. Skin as white as snow, lips and cheek as red as an apple, and bright shiny hair. He looked nothing like anyone I'd ever seen. Who was he?
どうしたの?
As I stood in a daze, my mother gently called out to me.
母様、どうして俺は母様に似ていないの？
それは
Just
あ
then,
外国人だおーい女男何してんだよ
some boys my age started to jeer at me. Unlike the adults, they treated me like the anomaly I was. That was the moment I finally understood why everyone had given me special treatment. It was because I didn't look like them. I was standing in front of a glass display case, and a strange-looking boy was actually my reflection. All at once I grew frightened. I clung to my
あの
mother.
子たちにいじめられてるの?
My mother asked quietly. Dark hair, dark eyes. She really looked nothing like me. I didn't answer. She looked around for a moment, then slid an arm around my shoulders and hurried
母
away.
様？
あなたは何も心配しなくていいのよ。あなたは私が守るから。
うん。
And then she never took me out again. After that, mother stopped letting me leave the house. Wow! Who would have guessed? Before she left for work, she summoned me and
いい
said,
こと
I
あ
forgot
な
to
た
do
は他の子
Duolingo.
と違ってとってもいい子
That's
な
not
の。
what she said. Go away, what can you do? What's a good atomic game? Oh! Wait, how? 12-year-old. 12-year-old. Atomic game for a 12-year-old. Atomic game for a 12-year-old. Let me think. Because all the ones I've played recently, I don't think... Well, technically, Café Enchante is for 12-year-olds. It has a... What is it called? Peggy rating of 12. Same goes for Code Realize, both games. But Code Realize has pretty hard vocabulary, I think. Because it's a very steampunk. Do you think it's the right way to do it? Well, I don't see why not. Question Shadow. What other Otome games are there that a 12-year-old could play? Does she speak English? Because I feel like most of these games would be pretty hard to understand for someone who doesn't really speak a lot of English yet. But I don't see why not. Cafe Enchanted with the bloody 12+ scenes. Yeah, but technically it does have a rating of 12. Let me think. Well, just because the game has a rating of this and that obviously doesn't mean it's good for someone of that age. I'm just thinking, Otome games for 12-year-olds. Otome games for 12-year-olds. That's hard. What do I own that a 12-year-old could read? She becomes such a weeb, I wonder. Oh, Urin is good. Urin Host Club is good. I have nothing a 12-year-old could read. Like, unless, you know, there's those free-to-play games that are also on, like, on your phone where you can just read a little every day, but, like, I don't know. I I don't think any of these games are good for 12-year-old. I'm so sorry, but like either the vocabulary is really hard, or the world, because the world building is really big, or in some true root there's like, oh no, the entire world is being destroyed by aliens. I don't know. I would recommend Code Realize, but that is set in a steampunk London where the MC is not human but a homunculus, how do you say it? Homunculus and stuff. And well, let's just say not everyone is planning on letting her exist because she goes against natural order. So I don't know. I don't think a 12-year-old should necessarily read that. I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna see if I can find an Otome game that a 12-year-old could read, and then I'm gonna send it to you, because I can't think of any off the top of my head that I would say are good for 12-year-old. You won't take responsibility for it. Still though, I think you need to be careful with what you give teenagers to read. I mean, I say that, and I definitely read stuff I was not allowed to read yet. Technically. You're incredible, am I though? No, I don't think any of the stuff I have read. Like, it's been a long time since I was 12 years old, I'm sorry. It's been a really long time since I was 12 years old that I could, you know, say this is good, this is not good. But I'm gonna have a look after stream, see if I can find something, and then I'll send it to you. There's some freemium games out there that are pretty good as well, so you wouldn't even necessarily have to spend money. Just see if she's actually interested in sitting through a game. Make her feel like a princess. There's a lot of... remember in Germany they were called Sophie's Friends. The Imagine games on the DS. There's like an Imagine Princess game. Princess Maker? No, not Princess Maker, that's something else. The one with figure skating was really, I don't know why, but that one was really anime. You had like, you could choose one girl, and then she would eventually in the story start to date someone actually while becoming the world's greatest figure skater. That was fun. I loved that one. I replayed it so much. My DS screen is broken. Sure, ask away. Ask away. And then we go back to Snow White's story. I'm just gonna have a drink in the meantime. Because this game I definitely won't recommend to a 12-year-old. I think that's a bit too much. There's people here cheating and people trying to kill themselves. Like that's not something a 12-year-old should read. Thank you for the posture check. Oh Jesus, no. What kind of stuff could a 12-year-old read? I don't know. You big boy, you want what the male protagonist of any woman? Well, I'm the wrong person to ask in that case. Because if you go online and you search for literally any fucking dating sim with a guy, you're going to find 500,000 games. You don't need me to ask for games with a guy who dates women. Because, like, that's not an otome game, that's just a standard visual novel. Just standard dating sim. There's a lot out there. I think you could probably Google, like, I don't know, visual novel with a guy who is, who just moved to a new city and what, I don't know, starts dating a girl who he met when he was on vacation at his grandma's home in that city 15 years ago. I don't know, you can go as specific as you want, and there's probably a game for it with a guy. Because you're like, man, man, I don't like man, though. There should be more otome-like games with male protagonists, don't you think? You mean like more where they actually, you know, have more substance than just guy starts dating 5 girls at once and pounds them into the mattress every night? With 15 unnecessary sex scenes? Sure, yeah, there should be more of that. But if you want my opinions on the general visual novel market, we're going to be here for another few hours, and we will not progress anywhere in Taisho Alice. Because I could go off about the visual novel scene. And I don't think anyone wants that right now. So we're going to go back to this mom who does not want her child to go out.
お外で遊んではダメ。
Yes.
狼なの。狼はどんな悪いことをす
There
るかわからない
probably
から。
is.
話しかけられても知らん顔をしているのですよ。
There definitely are. Can't say I have played a lot of visual novels with male protagonists in a while. Well, with ones that actually have romance in them, with guys, because I get so disappointed in the story.
お母さんがいない間、
Can I call you bro? Sure, homie.
もし誰かがこの家にやってきても決して中に入れてはいけません。
分かったよ、母様。
いい子ね。じゃ、行ってきます。
So people look at your child weird, and what you do is you lock your child inside? Sure. Left alone in the house, I gazed through the window. The snow glittered in the soft sunlight. I really enjoyed going into town with my mother. I wanted to play outside again, but then I saw my hazy reflection in the glass and I realized it was a hopeless dream. We had some small talks about visual novels already, but no big talks. Yeah. If I really, you know, we could do that sometime. But it would honestly, it would mostly consist of me ranting about a lot of stuff that I don't enjoy very much. And I don't know, I don't think that would be very enjoyable. Like, imagine you go on Twitch, you're like, oh nice, newest live, we're just chatting stream, and you come in and you just hear me going off for like an hour about what I think, why I think lots of the, I don't know, for example, the sex scenes in a lot of visual novels are unnecessary or badly written. But with nothing else to do, I stayed inside and read books, but I quickly grew bored of it. It was not fun to read the same books over and over again. That, and I had come to resent the perfect princesses who had earned my mother's unconditional love. On the table, my mother had set out some food for me, as well as some money for emergencies. I had everything I needed. As long as I obeyed my mother, nothing bad or dangerous would ever happen. Or so I thought. Oh?
ただいま。
母様、お帰りなさい。
It was around then that exhaustion began to erode my mother's beauty. Her complexion was wan and she often stared blankly into space. Anxious, I decided to ask her something I wanted for a long time.
母様は何の仕事をしているの？
Her face seemed to turn even more
お
ashen.
花屋さん。
俺にもできる？
I wanted to lessen her burden, if only a tiny
あ
amount.
なたはいいのよ。王子様は働かなくていいの。
Alas, she simply stroked my hair. Even without her beauty, she never stopped being kind and loving. But I couldn't stand being a useless little prince.
ごめんね。
As she hugged me, I noticed she had gotten thinner. Just then, someone started banging on the front door. Mother flinched.
また。
どうしたの？
She looked scared.
こっちに来なさい。
あ、
Uh-oh. Did someone follow her home? She grabbed me by the arm and pushed me into the
あなたは
closet.
この中で隠れてなさい。いい？何があってもここから出ちゃダメよ。
And with that, she shut the closet door. A few moments later, I heard a man shouting. Then I heard my mother
ごめんな
apologize.
さい。ごめんなさい。
Ah.
お金はすぐに返します。
She sounded like she was crying. I could tell that something scary was happening and my mother was trying to protect me from it. I wanted to dash out of the closet and rescue her, but my feet were rooted on the spot, right at the moment I needed them most. As a prince, I was supposed to save the princess. I'd promised to protect my mother, but instead she had to protect me.
見つけた。
I awoke to someone shaking my shoulders. Apparently I had fallen asleep.
もう隠れなくてもいいの？
I rubbed my sleepy eyes.
もう大丈夫。ほら、おいで。
うん。
I walked up to her and she pulled me into a hug, but I could smell a faint animal smell mixed in with her usual flowery fragrance and it nearly made me gag. Uh-oh. From that day on, my mother gradually continued to change. Her complexion grew pale and wrinkles formed on her once youthful face. Her cheerful smile vanished and she started taking a lot of medication. Then our clean, tidy house slowly filled with trash. As time passed, the place began to
いい
reek.
こと。あなたは他の子と違ってとってもいい子なの。だからお外で遊んではダメ。周りのみんなは
You're in
狼。
audio only mood. Okay.
狼はどんな悪いこと
Then
を
listen
する
to
かわ
my
からない
voice.
から。話しかけられても知らん顔をしてい
Into
る
the
んですよ。
Japanese voice acting.
お母さんがいない間、ちゃんとお留守番してるのよ。もし誰かがこの家にやってきても、決して中に入れてはいけま
I
せん。
truly hope they only had this poor woman record that voice line once and just play it over and over again. Like, imagine you stand there in the booth for like 3 hours and like half of it is filled with just you saying the same sentence over and over. Like, you stay here, don't go out, the world is filled with
わ
wolves.
かったよ、母様。
Then she stopped cooking for me and eventually she barely came home at all. But she still left a small amount of money on the table in case of emergencies. Why would she give me money if she didn't want me to leave the house? I didn't understand. I didn't need money, just like I didn't need food. If I stayed still, I wouldn't get hungry, and if I stayed home, I didn't need money. By that point, I was accustomed to sleeping during the day and being awake at night. Because of that, I started having strange dreams. In the dreams, I was sitting in the bright sunshine listening to the waves. Then I remembered what someone had once told me. The lake tide swells and recedes just like the ocean. Supposedly, these waves are created by friction between the surface water and the wind. That said, a lake is still not the same as an ocean. A lake will not lead you to distant lands.
あれ？
When I awoke, I was inside the house. No sunshine, no waves. Just a tiny cabin. The outside wall was just a dream. Surely it couldn't hurt to have fun in my dreams, right? Before long, I started to dream of hanging out with someone. In these dreams, I was happy. But whenever I awoke, I found myself in a dark, empty house, reminding me that any happiness I felt was merely a phantom. Then one day,
どこに行ってたの？
my mother had come home unusually early
ど
that
こに
day.
も行ってないよ。
I didn't understand why she was angry, but when I tried to be honest with her, she thought I was
嘘を
lying.
つかないで。どうしてあなたはいつも嘘をつくの？これは何？誰からもらったの？
She held up some clothes I didn't
それ
recognize.
は知らない。
知らないわけないでしょ。
でも俺には覚えがない。
Wait, what's
本
going
当だ
on?
よ。
Slowly she shook her head. Her eyes were full of fear.
答えて。あなたは誰なの？
俺は俺だよ。母様の子供だよ。
違う。あなたは私の子供じゃない。
え？
俺は母様の子供。母様に似てないから。この目もこの髪もこの肌も何一つ似ていないから。
違う。そうじゃない。
ねえ母様、
返して。あの子を、本当の私の子を返して。
Huh? She collapsed into a fit of sobbing, but there was nothing I could do. It felt like she had rejected my entire existence. Truth be told, I was only ever a burden to her. If it wasn't for me, she could have been a princess.
ごめんなさい。母
Wait,
様
I don't get it though.
生まれてきてごめんなさい。
Tears streamed down my face, the world steadily blurred. Then she called a name I didn't recognize. From there, the rest of my memories were fuzzy. The next thing I knew, I was alone at the house again. My mother was probably off at work. Left to my own devices, I once again chose to obey my mother. Like always, I read my books and dozed off, but then I had a depressing dream. I couldn't remember the details, but I had lied and hurt someone, and in the end I got hurt too.
ここは
When I awoke, I was in the middle of the forest and my cheeks were wet. What was I doing out here? I didn't know exactly what time it was, but judging from my surroundings, it had to be pretty late. I was overwhelmed by indescribable fear and panic. The lights were The lights were on at my house. Had Mother come home? If so, then she'd caught me breaking her rules. Would she be angry with me, or was she just worried for my safety?
誰かいませんか？
But no matter how hard I knocked, no one answered. This was definitely the right house. There weren't any others in sight. Hesitantly, I twisted the doorknob. Strangely enough, it was unlocked.
ただいま。
The moonlight streaming in through the window faintly illuminated the interior. I could smell a sugary scent. It was the smell of my mother's apple
母
pie.
様、
My mother was collapsed over the table, looking at me with cold, unfeeling eyes. My heart thumped in my chest. Pallid skin, blue lips, lifeless dark eyes. I didn't know what had happened, but my knees shook and my palms began to sweat.
母様、母様、起きて。
Uh-oh.
こんなところで寝ると風邪ひくよ。
I shook her by the shoulder, but she wouldn't wake.
母様、
This time I shook her as hard as I could. She toppled over. Oh, she's dead. Screaming, I fell backwards onto the floor. Half of her face had turned reddish purple.
母様、母様。
I accidentally brushed her hand and was startled to find it ice cold. And that was the moment I realized that I would never see my mother again. Oh shit! Oh fuck! From that day forward, Mother grew worse and worse. At first she retained some degree of her good looks, but after 4 days, dark purple veins spread over her entire body. Well, yeah! Because she's dead! Oh god. But at least back then I was still able to recognize her. After a week, blisters appeared all over her skin, which continued to change color. Then her body swelled and she began to emit an unbearable odor. Maggots crawled all over her and there were flies buzzing everywhere. There was no trace left of her former beauty. Now she was merely a monster. Come to think of it, it was around then that I stopped having those fun dreams. Sleep used to be my one escape from this miserable existence, and now I wasn't even afforded that. But hey, who needed dreams? My whole life was a nightmare now, and it was my obligation to endure it. Why does no one know there's a child and a mom, like a dead person in this cabin in the woods? Why does no one go to check on these fucking houses? The chilly air made my extremities go numb. My stomach rumbled endlessly. But even then, surprisingly enough, I still clung stubbornly to life. The words real life felt like an oxymoron. Sure, this was my life, but what part of it was
どう
real?
して俺は
Just then, I realized someone was staring at me from inside the mirror. I always hated looking in the mirror. The first time I saw my reflection, I didn't believe it was actually me. Skin as white as snow, lips and cheek as red as an apple, and bright shiny hair. For some reason I was sure it had to be someone else entirely. Then I found myself wondering, is that the real me? Apprehensively, I looked over to find a boy with skin as white as snow, lips and cheek as red as an apple, and bright shiny hair. But that is Alice. You cannot tell me that's not Alice. That's Alice, and not Snow White. Then I asked my reflection.
鏡よ鏡。鏡さん。僕だよ。
僕だよ. The instant I heard those words, the thin thread holding me together finally snapped.
誰？君は誰なの？どうしてそんなところにいるの？もしかして君がアリスなの？
The boy in the reflection nodded.
俺
See?
は誰なの？
Just then the mirror reflected something else. There I saw an ugly boy with a greasy face and a dandruff in his hair. In that moment I understood everything. Why my mother had changed, why the boy in the mirror didn't seem like me, and now I could see myself for what I truly was. Well?
母様との約束を破って外に出たあの日、家に帰ると母様は冷たい目でピクリともせず、体を触ると氷のように冷たかった。すぐに分かったよ。母様はもう二度と帰ってこないんだって。俺が殺したんだ。俺が母様をちゃんと母様の言うことを聞いていれば外になんて出なければ
Well, we don't know how she died though.
母様を助けられたかもしれなかったのに。
Maybe she killed herself? Because you weren't home. Once my eyes adapted to the darkness, I was able to faintly see Snow White as well as his mother, or rather the lifeless black mass beside him. By her feet I could see a pool of bodily fluids and wriggling maggots. Ew. It was so grotesque I felt like I was going to pass out. She was so sweet and innocent and cheerful. She never lost touch with the inner child, but now no trace of her former beauty remained. I shouldn't have thought about it too deeply. The stench hit my stomach and I vomited. Oh, thanks. I would never forget this sight for as long as I lived. Snow White had watched the most important person in his life turn into a hideous monster. How long had he endured this nightmare?
君を泣かせてしまったね。やっぱり俺は王子様にはなれないみたいだ。
Beyond my tear-blurred vision, I could see him staring down at his hands. After my choking and spitting subsided, I wiped my mouth and looked up at him. He had endured a pain far worse than mine for years. If I wanted to understand him, then I would have to accept this. I would have to accept him exactly as he was.
美しかった母様が日々醜くなっていく。
Well, a corpse is not going to get prettier, no?
それは母様を救えなかった。
If I wanted to heal him, then I couldn't sit around and cry.
その後だよ。漁師と出会ったのは。
Ryoshi Arisu, my real brother. I took a deep breath and spoke in a calm voice. How could I have forgotten something so important? At some point, I wandered into this topsy-turvy world and forgot myself.
仕方ないさ。ここは夢の世界だからね。
Which dream did? But I didn't bother to ask the question. After all, I was pretty sure I knew the answer.
夢とは自分の記憶の断片の再現、再構成と言える。夢に登場する人物や場所はほとんどの場合何もかも俺の記憶で作られた世界。どんなに姿が違っていてもそれは俺でしかない。俺はずっと鏡を見ていたんだ。鏡よ鏡、鏡さん。 俺の見たいものを
Tell me what I want to
俺
hear.
の
Yeah,
欲しい
we
言
we
葉を
saw that a lot.
フリルやレース、たくさんのリボン、大きなお城に綺麗なドレス、自分を愛してくれる母親に自分を見守ってくれる両親、そして王子様の自分。俺は鏡に映った自分自
But
身に
still,
慰め
how
られ
does
な
no
がら
one come check up on this
長
cabin?
い
I'm
長い時
begging
間
you.
を過ごしていた。二度と目を開かなくてもいい。
Like, at
Little.
least the people who still wanted money from the mom would have come to check on this house at some point, right?
偽物でもいい。
Because she still
偽りでもいい。
owed the money?
大好きな人と過ごす日々は波のない湖のよう
Or
な。
maybe I'm thinking too deeply about it and no one else bothered with it
悲しみも苦し
because
み
it's
も
not
ない。
important. But no joy either. Slowly Snow White looked up at me. Behind his thick eyelashes his eyes glittered in the darkness. At first I thought people were disappearing from the town, but I was wrong. In actuality, the town barely had any people in it.
そうだよ。俺の心の中に思い出として住んでいる人なんて。
As he spoke, he smiled faintly. His voice was level, but I could only imagine the pain he felt. His solitude was eternal and unchanging, and utterly hopeless.
そんなにつまらないものでもなかったよ。俺には本があったからね。本があったから俺は夢の中にいながら外の世界のことを知ることができた。まあここ最近は新しい物語に飢えていたけど。
His gaze drifted to the table. There sat a book and an apple pie. The pie was half eaten and the book had seen so much use it was nearly falling apart. He loved both of these things so much they practically represented him. I pressed a hand to my mouth. The time I nearly threw up after eating a bite of that moldy apple pie, was that something he experienced in his past too?
そんな時だよ。君と出会ったのは。漁師から君のことを聞いていた。変わった瞳のお姫様。ずっと君に会いたいと思っていた。アリス・ユリカ。君は俺の夢の中で。
Am I?
君は鏡に映った姿でありながら君という意志を持っている。君が俺の前に現れたことは大して驚いていない。俺は君のことを間接的に知っていたし、
Okay, but how
俺
did
の
I
中に現れてもおかし
get
くはなかった
into
から
your dream?
君がただの胸像じゃないと分かったのは、君が俺の知っているアリス・ユリカと少し違っていた
It
か
was a
ら。
good thing we stopped on Sunday.
君の
There's
兄弟は
a lot
ア
left
リ
to
ス漁
unpack,
師ただ一人だけ
honestly.
だし、喫茶店だってやってない。そもそも俺の住んでいる町に
Oh, we
君
didn't?
はいなかった。それだけならただの設定違いだと思っていたけど、
Alternate universe. Mm.
何より俺の記憶と違ったのは、俺が君の姿を見たのは漁師に見せてもらった写真が最初で最後で、俺の思い出に君はいない。
I shivered. Only then did I notice how abnormally cold it was inside the cabin. Man, it's really cold in here. There was no light in the darkness, no heat source to keep us warm, because this was his world. You know, I always wondered, if this is your dream, then what does it make me? After all, I have a conscience of my own, so what exactly am I? But now I finally understand. I'm a mirror reflection of your heart, but I'm also a pawn. There must be another version of me in the real world trying to talk to you. And that other me, no, both of us, we want you to wake up. That's my purpose here.
俺は目覚めたくない。ずっとこのままでいいよ。
I doubt that, liar.
嘘じゃない。俺は今のままで十分満足だ。ここには母様も漁師もいる。ここにいれば俺は王子様でいられる。美しいものだけ見ていられる。
I know it's not the same voice actor, but the way he's talking right now really reminds me of Komaeda from Danganronpa. in some scenes. But none of it is real. Snow White, you compared the stream to a still lake, but those waters are only still because your heart is frozen over. You say there's no pain or misery here, but there's no joy either. Are you really having fun reading the same old books? Are you having fun going back and forth between the lake and your house and nowhere else? Are you having fun talking to your reflection in the mirror? He clapped his hands to his ears and shook his head. Snow White, you claim you killed your mother, but deep down you know no one is to blame. You know it wasn't really your fault. Next, he squeezed his eyes shut, but he knew her voice could still reach him.
だってそうじゃないか。俺が母様との約束を破らなかったら助けられたかもしれないんだ。
You've only ever blamed yourself. You could have pinned the blame on someone else, but you chose not to. Because you're a kind person. But it's time to end this. He took a step forward. Frightened, Snow White took a step back.
やだ。来ないでくれ。
Nevertheless, I walked forward and touched his mother lying slumped over the table. She was so sweet and innocent and cheerful. She never lost touch with her inner child. She was the woman Snow White loved most in all the world. And then at my touch, she disintegrated. Desperately, he dug for her amid the mountains of trash. Strength drained from his limbs and he fell to his knees. As I stood there in silence, he glared up at me. Still not as cruel as your mother. She locked you up in here when you were just a child. Looking out for you, but trapping you in a tiny cabin and controlling every aspect of your life? Then why did you keep going out to visit the lake? The lake reflected everything upside down like a mirror, and Snow White always gazed out at it longingly. This is... but it's really the same. Because, you know, Red Riding Hood also went out to the lake. And then he met Wolfie in that story and stuff, but like... it's the same cabin, it's the same mother saying, don't go out, the world is filled with wolves. But in Red Riding Hood's story, Red Riding Hood is a wolf himself. So she wanted to keep him from the outside world. And in this one, everyone else seems to be the wolf, while Snow White is the one stuck inside. But I don't know what that means! I'm not your mother, so I don't truly know why she did the things she did. The only way to get that answer would be to ask her directly, but that's no longer possible. You, however, you are still alive. You're just sleeping as if you were dead. I know how you feel, Snow White. After all, I'm your mirror image. I opened my eyes wide so I could see his reflection. Deep down, you've always wanted to venture out into the world. You're not crazy either, you're perfectly sane. The truth is, you wanted me to figure it out. You wanted me to save you, because you're lonely. You've always wanted to wake up from this nightmare. Mirror, mirror on the wall, tell me what I want to know. Years of solitude turned your heart to ice. That ice served as a mirror, showing you only what you wanted to see, telling you only what you wanted to hear. But once the ice showed up, that changed too. The magic mirror became corrupted and I shattered it. But that wasn't the only mirror here. Be honest, you always knew, didn't you? You knew why I showed up in a form you didn't recognize. Desperate to escape my gaze, he buried his face in his arms. Why not?
本当の俺は全然綺麗じゃない。汚いだろう。お風呂も入ってなければ洗濯もしていない。体中油や赤だら
I
けだし、
don't know what a dandruff
あ
is.
それにまとわりつくようなこの匂い取れないんだ。どんなに体を洗ってもこびりついて取れないんだよ。
Sure enough, he smelled like old milk, but that was hardly a surprise. After all, he'd spent years and years locked up in his rotten hole.
どうして母様が俺を外に出したがらなかったのか。でも鏡を見た瞬間、俺は母様が望んだ姿と違うからだ。俺は王子様なんかじゃない。
Hi, good evening. How are you? It sounded like he was arguing with the part of him that always wanted to be a prince. Well, I want you. His eyes widened slightly. I can't be your queen, but I can be your princess. Can you be my prince?
なぜどうして君たち兄弟はこんな俺のそばにいてくれようとするの？
Because we love you. When you love someone, you naturally want to be around them. He shook his head.
俺は好きだから離れたい。好きだからこんな醜い姿を見られたくない。
I reached out to him. What I wanted more than anything was for him to forgive himself.
触るな。俺は汚い。君まで汚してしまうよ。
He smacked my hand away. He was terrified. Hey, look at me. Nevertheless, I reached out to him again. How are you? I'm good. How are you? Just a little tired. I grabbed his scrawny arm and leaned in. Up close, I could see that his eyes were full of tears. He was drowning in unbearable sorrow. Yeah, something about her face is off. Look me in the eye. How do you feel about my eyes?
綺麗だよ。とても。
You good. I know you're winning. I'm not sure yet. How about you? Are you winning? What about the reflection of yourself you see in them?
それは
His grimy face twisted in misery. Even so, his eyes were locked on mine. Listen, Snow White. When you told me you thought my eyes were beautiful, it really meant a lot to me. So I want you to look at what's reflected in them. Because I'm you, and I want you to love me.
俺をそれはつまり
Wow, what? Yep. I nodded with a smile. Before you can love someone else, you have to love yourself. That's not true. Now say the magic words. See, I'm not just a mirror. I'm a magic mirror. And I answer any question you ask.
鏡よ、鏡。鏡さん、この世界で一番愛しているのは
You, my prince. You are the one I love most of all. And with that, I kissed him. As I slowly pulled away, he stared back at me in disbelief.
どうして
They seem a lot larger from the side. Yeah. It's because the fringe goes so far down. I don't know. Something is off. Something is off about her face. Remember when I...
言ったよ
Oh,
ね
wait, that's on me.
俺のために死んでもいいのか。
Yeah.
いくら君がイレギュラーな存在だとしても、この世界は俺が見ている夢だ。君の存在も幻に過ぎないんだよ。俺を目覚めさせれば、君という存在も消えてしまう。
So, I exist in a real world.
君は自分という存在が消えて
As
も
do
いいの
you. We can just get to know each other again. Yep.
なんで
Because I love you. I love you and I want to heal you. To that end, I don't care if I have to sacrifice myself. I'm happy as long as my beloved is happy.
変わってるね。
I get that a lot. Maybe your dream made me this way. I shot him a playful wink. He gazed back at me conflicted. Besides, your mom asked me to look out for you. She wanted the two of us to be friends. So clearly she wants me to save you.
それは夢の中の話だよ。
Yeah, maybe. But you can trust me, can't you?
ああ、信じるよ。
He struggled to smile through the pain. The truth is, I wanted nothing more than to see you in person. You felt the same way.
思ってたよ。
You had feelings for me.
わからない。でも、ずっと憧れてた。君の見た目は、絵本の中のお姫様そのままだったから。
Right. Likewise, I heard about you from my brother. He would always tell me stories of the prince who ate the poisoned apple and fell fast asleep. And I always wished I could wake you up. Just then, a bright red flame ignited at our feet and began to spread throughout the room. The fire threatened to consume everything in its path.
世界が
Oh? Oh, did his outfit just
夢
change?
が崩れていく。
Or is it just... No, it's just the light, probably. At last, this eternal dream has reached its end. I spoke softly, reassuringly. Didn't I tell you? Even after the dream ends, I'll still love you. But this time it won't be a mirror image, it'll be the real me.
でも俺は
I pressed my index finger to his lips and slowly shook my head. I'm going to wake you up no matter what it takes, even if I have to disappear along with the rest of your dream. Can you hear my voice? Can you understand me?
届いてるよ。君が現れて。世界は少しずつ変わっていった。君の言葉は不思議だ。君以外の人の言葉は響かないのに。君だけは違うんだ。君の言葉は寒さで凍ってしまった湖を少しずつ溶かして。
His beautiful eyes dyed my reflection a brilliant shade of lilac. Drawn in like a magnet, I leaned in. Snow White closed his eyes without resistance. Ah, my prince, I've come to wake you. Then I kissed him one more time. What now? What now? Ah, there I stood, a mere child alone at the lake at night. Why the lake, you ask? No real reason. I would have happily gone anywhere, even to the other side of the planet. I just really liked the lake, that's all. On clear nights, the surrounding mountains reflected upside down on the lake's surface. It was magical, and although our town was a tourist trap, people hardly came here at night. That night was yet another clear moonlit night. I just sat there and listened to the waves. You might think a lake wouldn't have waves, but you would be mistaken. He's a fucking baby. The lake tide swells and recedes just like the ocean. Supposedly, these waves are created by friction between the surface water and the wind. That said, a lake is still not the same as an ocean. A lake will not lead you to distant lands. I understood that, of course. But even if it did, I would likely never go. After all,
Oi, omae.
Out of nowhere, someone grabbed me by the shoulder. Startled, I whirled around to find a man staring down at me, panic in his eyes. It was Ryoshi. Back then, Ryoshi was a 20-year-old college student. His eyes widened slightly, almost like he was surprised by my question. Ryoshi grabbed me by the arm and, without another word, dragged me off the pier and onto the lake shore. At least I assumed so, since no one ever interacted with me, but I didn't really understand friendship anyway. Don't be mean to the child.
別にそっちが勝手に喋ってるだけだ。
I could have stayed silent, but I didn't want him to keep interrogating me, so I decided to respond. Hey! Don't hit the child! Just then he smacked me over the head. His husky voice got even huskier as he growled at me. If anything, he looked less like a hunter and more like a wolf.
Gaki じゃない。白雪だよ。
He furrowed his brow.
君はそれ以外ないと思うけど。
I tilted my head at him. He scowled. I braced myself thinking he would hit me, but instead he simply clucked his tongue in annoyance.
今時のガキは
たとえ俺がガキだとしてもこちらから名乗ったのだからそっちも名乗るのが礼儀だと思うけど
It was a ballsy retort, but I was testing the waters.
アリス漁師だ
He reluctantly answered the question. He must have realized that I had a valid
変
point.
な名前
悪かったな
自覚はあるんだね
Ryoshi, the Japanese form of huntsman, Arisu, the Japanese form of Alice, two fairy tale characters mashed
お
together.
前こそ人のこととやかく言える名前じゃねえだろ女じゃないよ
I kicked his unguarded shin.
俺は女の子じゃない
I growled in a low voice. I didn't care if he made fun of my stupid name, but I was not okay with him treating me like a girl. Hey, no, hey, weird! Good evening! How are you? Ryoshi looked at me in confusion for a moment, then let out a sigh.
な分かった今のは俺が悪かった
He raised both hands in surrender.
漁師は
早速呼び捨てかよ
君をアリスと呼びたくない
Alright, how are you? I'm good, I'm just tired. We are, I don't know, hopefully actually getting to the end of Snow White's route finally?
俺も呼ばれた
This is, we're right in a flashback of, I think the real world Alice, right? Alice, not Alice. Snow White right now? This seemed to piss him off even more, so he decided to consider other
おじ
options.
さん
漁師でいい
Apparently he didn't like Grandpa either. Very picky, this one.
こんなところでぼーっとしてるから自殺でもすんのかと思っちまったじゃねえか
自殺何のために
I have a lot of thoughts. I'm just waiting to, you know, only say once we finish it.
知るかよ
Oh, ah, I accidentally skipped that. I'm just saying it's not normal for a kid to be out here by himself this late. Then why are you out here by yourself this late? Because he's not a kid. He's a grown man. Sure, he had a scary face, but he didn't seem old enough to be lecturing me like a grown-up.
漁師こそいわゆる不良ってやつなんじゃない
なんでだよ
見た目がまさに不良そのものだし
悪かったな
His appearance was nothing like the average person's. His hair and eyes were both pale in color. To be fair, he rocked the look, but out here in the countryside, he was bound to attract all kinds of attention.
この髪は生まれつきだ
嫌なの
I was more interested in his irritated tone of voice.
さあどうだろうな
Since he was dodging the question, I took that to mean he didn't enjoy the topic.
周りからは染めろ染めろと言われるけどなで一度髪を染めたことがある
Dyeing your hair black is actually not a good idea at all. Like, go for a dark brown, but you should never go for actual black. As far as I've heard from hairdressers and the likes. Because you're just going to ruin your hair in the long run. I did dye my hair black twice already. So now it's a darker color. I think that would be fun. Alternate colored nude. You really want to dye your hair? Me too. Aww. You need your family's approval to dye your hair? What color is your hair now? Well, as you can see, it's pink. I tried to picture him with black hair. It wasn't pretty.
そうだね確かに漁師に黒髪は似合わない
Aw. Yeah, pink is fun. Pink is just hard to keep up. But it's fun. It's a fun color, and you get a lot of people say, ooh. Well, you get a lot of reactions. Either they say, wow, that's really pretty, or they look at you disapprovingly and just go like, eh. Where I just think, okay, but like, what's the difference between me dyeing my hair pink and some old lady dyeing her hair, you know, a normal, a natural color when she starts getting gray hairs? Like, oh, I'm sorry. hair dye exists. Why shouldn't I use it? The mental image was just too funny.
失礼なガキだな。
そっちが勝手に言い出したんじゃないか。
Why was I laughing so hard? You wouldn't think it was that hilarious, yet for some reason it was.
ねえ、明日もここに来てくれる？
Oh yeah, I know that feel. When I was young, I was like... Well, I was never completely against pink, but there was definitely a time in my life when I thought to myself, no, pink is so girly, ew. Fucking pink is amazing, I love pink, I breathe pink. I love it. I don't know why people, people care about others so much. It's like, am I hurting you? Is my pink hair hurting you? No? Then don't comment on it if you only have something rude to say. Yeah, ask as I wipe the tears of laughter from my eyes.
なんでまたここに？つうか、また一人で来るつもりか？
Yeah, well, you breathe pink, I want to get a look. Yeah, I breathe
来
pink.
るつもりだ。
I smiled faintly. Ta-da! We're actually here. The next night, sure enough, the Yoshi showed up at the lake. As soon as he saw me, he ran a hand through his ash-gray hair. I guess he thought I was joking about coming back. Silently, he sat down beside me. A few minutes passed in which neither of us said a word. It was a peaceful moment. The only sound was out of the waves. No more lollipops for you! No! No, not the lollipops! Please, I need those. I need my daily sugar intake, I'm gonna die. Just like always, except this time I wasn't alone. As I gazed out at the water lost in thought, Ryoshi slowly began to speak.
お前、何もない湖なんか眺めてた。
別に。
He took a small pack from his pants pocket and pulled out a thin white stick.
それ何？
タバコだよ。
タバコ？
I'd never heard this word before.
なんだ、見たことねえのかよ。変わってんな。
As he spoke, he set a cigarette between his
食
lips.
べるの？
食べない。煙を吸うんだよ。
似たようなものじゃないか。
そうかもな。
It's not good for your health, that's what it is. He reached into his pocket again. This time he produced a
そ
lighter.
れで燃やすんだね。
I guess that's one way to create
そ
smoke.
うだ。ライターは知ってんだな。
He lit the cigarette with no trouble, as if he'd done it 100 times before. White smoke rose up into the air. The smell stung my nostrils, and as I inadvertently inhaled the smoke, my lungs reflexively coughed it back out. Yeah, secondhand smoking is not good. If anyone, listen, I'm not sure, but if anyone ever tries to tell you that secondhand smoking is not bad, like what could even happen? It's just some smoke, smack them. I swear to God. I was a secondhand smoker for many years in my life. It's not good. I thought the player is supposed to be Arisu. Yeah. That's her last name. Arisu, that's her last name. Yurika Arisu. That's her brother. The huntsman. A secondhand smoke is like when someone if you inhale the smoke because someone's smoking a cigarette next to you. Or in close proximity to you. So like you don't have the cigarette between your lips, but you still inhale the smoke someone else is smoking. Yeah, exactly. And there's people that will tell you, oh, that doesn't hurt, right? Bah, 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 don't be so sensitive. And it's just like, if you need to smoke, you can do it further away from me, or you don't do it at all. Because I'm sorry, I have no respect for that. Like, nope. Because smoke in public places here, it's horrible. Yeah, I mean, Here in Germany, you can smoke outside, but we've for many years now we've had this rule that you cannot smoke in establishments anymore, especially not in like basically you're not allowed to smoke inside, especially not in restaurants and the likes, which is so good because I could never understand it. Like, imagine you go to eat somewhere and then there's just a smell of smoke in the air. Like, how do I enjoy my food that way? I think I was too small really to remember a time when it was still allowed. But yeah, I'm just glad I went with it because I do not enjoy secondhand smoking. In Japan, you are allowed to smoke in specific areas of restaurants and cafes and the like. They ask you, like, would you like to go to the smoking or the non-smoking section? That was a slap to my face. I was like, wait, what? People are allowed to smoke inside? Huh? But then you're not allowed to just smoke outside on the street, right? Like, they allow you to smoke inside of restaurants in specific areas, which would also travel through the entire restaurant. But then outside, you're not allowed to just smoke on the side. But then they make like these tiny, that's not how you say it in English, I think, but like those tiny islands where they would plant a bunch of bushes and stuff, so people could smoke in this little circle of bushes, so those would, I don't know, absorb the smoke. That was very interesting to see. Some house got pretty much ruined by smoke. Oh yeah. Third-hand smoking from watching the smoke in Yakuza games. I've been to Japan, yeah. I've been to Japan once in my life. A few years ago. Which I'm very happy about, because now due to Corona, lots of people's plans got cancelled, and I had almost been planning on going 2020 as well, because that's when I finished my apprenticeship. But good thing I went before that. I went in... Wait, when did I go? 2018 is when I went to Japan. It was nice. It's really nice. Going next year as a gift to myself for grade. Oh, yeah, that's... Question is just... oh, excuse me. Question is just, will the world be normal by then again? Well, normal in... You know, normal. Because Japan is not really best in terms of vaccine handling. But I don't know. I buried my nose in my elbow to protect it from the smoke.
それ美味しいの
No.
Yeah.
This is what I don't understand. Smoke doesn't even taste good.
美味しくもないのに
So why do
食べ
it?
るんだ変わってるね
そうかもな。
He pulled a cigarette from his lips and exhaled a gust of white smoke. It stood out in sharp contrast against the dark night sky, almost like a ghost.
体には毒だと言われるが、これが好きだというやつが世の中にはいっぱいいる。
それ毒なんだ
ああ、そうだ。だからガキは真似するなよ。
He put the cigarette back between his lips, a stoic expression on his face. It was poison, yet he smoked it as if it was his
ガ
duty.
キは飴でも食ってろ。
Maybe you should stick to lollipops as well. As he spoke, he produced a brightly wrapped candy from the pocket of his jacket and handed it to me.
いらない
I threw it on the ground.
おい。
He smacked me over the head.
しつけのなってねえガキだな。
ガキじゃない
Yes, you are. I scolded. I wasn't expecting a total stranger to hit me. Meanwhile, Yoshi put out a cigarette, rose to his feet, and picked up the lollipop. Silently, I watched as he unwrapped it and put it in his mouth.
こっちのがうまいな。
汚くないの？
I stared in
直
disbelief.
に地面に落ちたわけじゃねえから大丈夫だろ。
He rolled the lollipop around on his tongue. The more I watched him, the more it piqued my interest.
やっぱり欲しいかも。
素直じゃねえな。
As he spoke, he produced another lollipop from his. Oh! I want one as well!
ほらよ。
This time I held it in my hand.
食べねえのか。
食べない。
That wasn't why I wanted one. I just wanted to copy him. I held the lollipop aloft. Inside the clear wrapper, the bright red candy sparkled in the moonlight. It almost looked like an apple. Did it now? From then on, Yoshi continued to show up night after night. We talked about all kinds of stuff. He told me he moved out here all by himself to attend college. His parents were doctors and they wanted him to study medicine too.
俺は医者に向いてないんだよ。頭も特別良かったわけじゃない。手先もそれほど器用じゃない。
血も苦手だしね。
ああ、そうだ。
He was uncomfortable with blood, yet he was trying to be a doctor anyway.
どうして血が苦手なの？
Oh, he's not comfortable with blood? He paused for a moment.
あの独特な鉄臭さと色がいい。
That's new information. We have not heard that before.
色？
なんかグロいだろ。
I pictured blood. Bright red blood. Yeah. Evidently he and I had some things in
俺
common.
も
あ
俺も赤い色は嫌いだ。
Before I knew it, the words slipped out. The words. This time his voice carried a hint of amusement. Looking up, I realized he was actually smiling for a change.
何？ニヤニヤして気持ち悪い。
珍しいな。お前が自分のことを
I
話
like
すなん
the
て。
change in the voice for Snow White. Like, this one actually sounds like a child and not just the really breathy wah, 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 that Snow White normally has. But this one is actually a brat. But it's nicer. I decided to smack him just in case. He was right. I never contributed to the conversation, I only ever listened. Until now, he never really commented on it. But it wasn't because he wasn't interested in me. If he wasn't interested, then he wouldn't bother coming here night after night. That said, he didn't try or get involved more than absolutely necessary. His motives were a mystery, but still, he struck me as sincere. Just then, he plunged a hand into his
また
pocket.
タバコ？
よくわかったな。
He deftly lit a cigarette like he'd done so many times before. White smoke rose into the air once
わ
more.
かるよそれくらい。
I had spent the past few nights hanging out with him, and by this point, he was fairly predictable. Come to think of it, I'd adapted to the smell of the smoke too. Meanwhile, he continued to smoke with an apathetic look on his face. He sat in silence, just staring out at the empty sky. This meant he was thinking about something, yet another thing I'd learned about him in the short time we'd known each other.
どうして毒だと分かっててタバコを吸うの？
別に死にたくて吸ってるわけじゃねえよ。ただ
ただ
こうすれば少しでも近づけるんじゃねえかと思ってな。
What goal? I didn't press further. He had his own life just like I had mine. If he wanted to tell me, he was free to do so, and if not, he could keep it to himself.
そうだ。
As he looked up suddenly, the cigarette fell from his lips and grazed his skin. What a klutz.
今日はお前にいいものを持ってきたんだ。
何？
Half expecting more candy, I looked at him curiously. Then he pulled a book from his briefcase.
部屋の整理をしてた時に見つけたんだが。
Ooh,
いるか？
book time. In other words, he was trying to pawn off his trash.
本は嫌いか？
Slowly, I nodded. I didn't just like books. I love books. Me!
ありがとう。
Thank you for the hydrator. The words came to me naturally as I accepted the book. He had given me other gifts in the past, but this was the first time I'd actually thanked
ちゃん
him.
と家に帰って読めよ。
He seemed pleased with my reaction because he ruffled my hair.
分かってるよ。
His hand was warm and I didn't mind the affection. And thank you for the postage check. I have so many books I still have to read. I say I like reading and I say I like books, but the problem when all of your hobbies involve having to read yourself, is that at some point your eyes get tired. Because, you know, half of the games I play are visual novels or RPGs, which also consist of lots of reading. So, like, every game I play consists of reading. Books obviously consist of reading. Manga I have consists of reading. Work consists of a lot of reading. Just being online and talking to people consists of reading. So my eyes, I'm surprised my eyes are still not dead yet. You got a Audible subscription. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not for me. Like, there's three podcasts in my life I have listened to, or one I'm still listening to, two that I've finished, that I've also finished listening to, but it's really hard for me to concentrate on them. Because I can't just sit still and only listen to something. I need to do something with my hands, and then my thoughts go somewhere else, and then I zone back in like a few minutes later and just go, fuck, I have no clue what happened the last few minutes, because I didn't actually process what I was listening to. So they don't really work for me, sadly, because there's a lot of them that are really nice, and I wish I could, you know, use those to pass the time more. It's like I could definitely listen to those when I listen to music at work. I try to substitute that for podcasts sometimes, but it just doesn't work out. I get through one episode, maybe two 20-minute episodes of a thing, with lots of pausing and rewinding, and that's just not worth it. One book in the last year, considering, normal books I have not read in a long time. No, I don't think I completed a normal book last year either. It's all just manga and light novels, and even then light novels were really sparse for me last year. In the end, I was so curious to read my new book that I went home early that night. What's your favorite book? That's There's a children's book series that I really like, that I'm not sure what it's called in English. Stardust something, which was about, oh god, I forgot her name. Lucy, who's like a 9 or 10-year-old, and who lives with her family, typical nuclear family, 2 older sisters, and they get new neighbors. It's a children's series. It's and like a book is just barely 100 pages long, so it's not. But it was really good. And there's this thing. They get new neighbors. A mom and her daughter, and they get along really well. And the neighbor's daughter tells her about how she's a fairy who can transform in the night, and use the powers of the elements, or like one specific element, and they're like stardust fairies, they're called, and they work to, you know, save the earth, care for nature, and Lucy then finds out she's also one of those fairies, and she's a fire fairy, and she's really, really powerful, and she's like able to use a lot of magic that even most adult fire fairies are not able to use, and there's like every single book there's another problem they get through. There's 2 other girls in the group, so they have one element of each. It's a very typical setting, but it's really nice. And then later on it turns out the reason she's so powerful is because after she became a fire fairy, or like a summer, excuse me, it's not by the elements, but because like it's spring, summer, autumn and winter fairies, because it's tied to the stars. And it turns out she's the last one to become a summer fairy, so all of the powers from that one star went into her. I don't remember why. It was one of the last books that actually was about that. And then there's these evil fairies who steal other people's fairy dust, because if they have the fairy dust from another person, they can use their magic powers. And so they try to steal Lucy's power, because obviously she's like the most powerful summer fairy right now. And I don't, these books are like for children aged, I don't know, 8 to 10? Maybe, but they're really good. They're really cute. I love them. They had a bunch of stuff. They were very conscious of nature. The friendships felt nice. They were very realistic. Like, that's children. And these children are written like children. Like a child would act. And I loved them when I was a child, and I still love them. It seems complicated for children. I don't know. But those are really good. Wait, let me see if they are available in English. Stardust. Moment. Yeah, Stardust. It's written by Linda Chapman. Though I cannot tell you if Linda Chapman is just one person or if it's a group of people. But it's really nice. It came out in 2006 originally. Jesus Christ. Look it up. Yeah, sure. But it's a children's book series, but it's really good still. There was a time in my life when I was really obsessed with the stars. I don't know that much about them anymore, but I was really into them when I read these books. That's why they're still very dear to my heart, and I've kept these books ever since then. I still have them. I reread all of them in 2019, I think, because I was like, you know what? I want to know if child me really had a reason to be as obsessed with these books as I was, or if I remembered them due to nostalgia reasons. And turns out they're really just that good. No, I keep going off tonight, but it's okay. Let's see what Snow White has to say. I'm so sorry, Snow White. All the lights were off inside the house, and although it was winter, the heater was off and it was freezing inside. Careful not to trip over anything, I navigated my way to the living room where I found my mother asleep. I couldn't let my beloved mother get sick, so I grabbed the blanket off the floor and put it back over her. On the table was an apple pie. Apple pies were my mother's specialty. She used to make them for me all the time, but she stopped having much free time after she started working outside the home. Once I finished my meal, I pulled on my red cloak and moved to the window. We lived deep in the woods, but with the thick blanket of snow reflecting the moonlight, the nights weren't quite so dark. Then it was time to start my new book. If Mother knew I was doing this, would she be upset with me? Or would she be happy? Either way, she had no way of actually finding out since she was asleep. Unlike the fairy tales, Mother would often read to me at bedtime. Ryoshi's book was full of intricate human relationships and plot twists. Appreciate your thought. Oh, thanks. The next day.
Nani?
お前ガリガリだな。ちゃんと飯食ってるのか？
食べてるよ。
ほら、これ食え。
He thrust a plastic bag at me.
何これ？
Inside I could see sandwiches, rice balls, and a variety of other
お
snacks.
前はガキなんだからもっとたくさん食え。で、
お
別に毒なんて入っちゃねえから。
I sat there in silence for a moment. Then, as if to reassure me, he reached into the bag, grabbed a sandwich, unwrapped it, and took a bite.
それ美味しい？
まあ、そうだな。気になるなら食ってみればいいだろ。
いらない。
腹減ってないのか？
うん。
I was lying. Truth be told, I was starving, but I couldn't accept his charity no matter what.
漁師は自分で料理を作ったりしないの？
しない。
誰か作ってくれる人はいないの？
一人暮らしだからな。
ふん。
お前は？
母様がいつもアップルパイを作ってくれる。
アップルパイ？
うん。
Before I went home, Ryoshi forced me to take the bag of food. He refused to take no for an answer, and so I carried the whole bag home with me. I don't... Is the mom dead at this point already?
ただいま。
When I arrived at home, I called out into the darkness. Then I set my bag down on the kitchen table. It felt like Ryoshi was treating me like a stray cat, a wild animal untamed by human hands. Part of me thought this was pretty rude, but at the same time I knew he was just trying to be nice. And because of that, I was starting to think it might be okay to eat his food. I pulled a sandwich out of the bag and unwrapped it. It looked extremely appetizing. Uh-oh. Then I opened my mouth wide and took a bite. But my body rejected it and I spat it out on the spot. I couldn't remember the last time I successfully ate something. For as long as I could remember, no matter how hungry I got, my stomach rejected all food. I wanted to eat so badly, but I couldn't eat unless my stomach let me.
だから、いらないって言ったのに。
In the mirror, I could see a bony boy staring back at me.
妹？
ああ、そうだ。
One day I learned that Ryoshi had a sister.
漁師に妹がいたんだ。
Like, I'm sorry, you cannot...
初めて知った。
Ryoshi is very responsible from what we've seen. There's no way he keeps meeting up with this child who looks like he's nothing more than skin and bones every single night, and he doesn't try to find out where he lives or what's happening with him. Like, hello?
そりゃそうだろう。初めて行ったからな。
So, oh, what have you been up to? Oh, I've been meeting up with this, like, I don't know, 10-year-old in the middle of the night at a freezing lake who doesn't eat. And I don't know where he lives. Hello? He had spoken of his family a fair few times as well, but this was the first time he mentioned a sister. Something about it felt off to me. You'd think he would have told me about her sooner.
どんな子なの？やっぱり漁師の妹だからいかつかったりするの？
After all, Ryoshi had the face of a stone-cold killer. So chances were high his sister had a grumpy disposition too. However,
妹は俺とは似てねえよ。
at this I felt a tiny bit
じゃ
disappointed.
あ可愛い？
まあ、そうかもな。かわいいかわいいと一部の連中にはもてはやされて
Also, once again, feels like Ryoshi's the only one who ever gets the crown by being in the middle of the screen.
ふん。
Something about his tone gave me pause. He made it sound like the majority of people didn't think she was cute. I decided to dig a little deeper.
他とは違う？
Ryoshi's looks were truly one of a kind. Ash gray hair and icy blue eyes. When he said she was nothing like him, he probably didn't mean physically.
ああ、そうだ。
He replied in a low voice.
まあ、そういう意味じゃ俺と似てるかも
I
な。
wonder what their parents look like.
変わってるんだよ。
Oi.
俺もあいつも。
どう変わってるの？
You know, in terms of anime characters, you both look very fucking normal. He paused for a moment.
瞳の色が2色なんだ。
Okay. Oh, I see. That's not just coloring. That's actual in-game, in-universe thing that her eyes have two... Oh, I see.
2色の瞳？
ああ、そうだ。 まあ
I
それ自体は
see.
さほど珍しく
Okay,
な
now
い
I get
ら
it.
しいん
Because
だ
I was always thinking like, well, okay, she has really pretty eyes. What's everyone on about? But I guess there's more
あ
to
いつ
it.
の交際は青と赤が上下でグラデーションみたいになってるんだ
I still don't see how it's red, but okay.
へえ
That is uncommon. I could hear my voice go up an octave. After all, red and blue were contrasting colors. I collected myself, then asked in a calmer voice.
何かの病気
I didn't mean to be rude, but I couldn't think of a nicer way to
いや
ask.
俺と同じ先天性のものなんだ視力は別に悪くないし
The main,
色が違うだけで
well, main character,
他は普通の
in
人と
the
変わらない
you know, in the early Utano Prince Summer games and also the anime, the girl character. But that's mainly because of the art style. The girl also has these kind of eyes. I actually forgot her name. Because in recent Utapri stuff, especially in like the newer games and the mobile stuff, they have completely written her out of it. Which doesn't make sense because Utapri started as an otome series, and in the anime they just made it so she doesn't date anyone specifically. But in the most recent games, there's just no MC at all anymore, which is making a lot of people upset, which is understandable. It's like it started as an otome game series, and now they're like, oh well, we don't actually need you guys anymore. This is what she looks like. With like the orange eyes and the green iris. But in this case, it's just an art style thing and not actual in-universe stuff about her having two colored eyes. Which is why I didn't think it was that weird for Yurika to have those eyes, because I thought it was just the art style. But I guess not.
兄弟揃って派手なんだね
まあなどこに行っても目立ってしょうがねえよ
That you sure do. Yeah, I bet. With looks like his, anyone would do a double take. City or countryside, it didn't matter.
妹は何歳
年はお前くらいだなあとは髪が長くて
He stopped short. His eyes bore into me and it tilted my head in confusion.
何
そういえばお前に似てるよ
俺に
見た目もだがなんとなく
Hey.
おいこら危ねえな
Right as I tried to peer into the lake, he grabbed me by the scruff of the neck.
湖を覗こうとしただけだよ
I shoved his hand away and looked down again. In the reflection of the water, Ryoshi and I didn't look all that different, unlike me and my mother. Well, yeah, that's because he also has light hair.
ねえ漁師の妹はどんな子なの
Now that I knew Ryoshi had a sister, I made a point of asking about her every now and then. Her likes and dislikes, the books she read, the things that made her sad. The more I learned about her, the more real she felt, even if she wasn't here. But I quickly hit a dead end. Why? Because Ryoshi didn't know much about her to begin with. And for good reason. When she was almost 10, she moved away with her mother to a different country while Ryoshi moved here by himself. They hadn't seen each other in several years. What? To different country? I saw why he chose this town specifically.
別荘があって毎年遊びに来てたからな
He made it sound like an afterthought. Apparently his family was loaded. For the first time in my life, I was grateful that the stupid backwoods town was a tourist trap. Otherwise, I never would have met Ryoshi and learned about his sister. Not that I'd ever admit this to Ryoshi directly, of course.
これが妹
ああそうだ
One day, Ryoshi was thoughtful enough to bring a photo of his sister so I could see her. Probably because I kept asking about her all the time.
今より少し若く見えるね
そうか
It was a photo of the two siblings together. I looked from younger Ryoshi to current Ryoshi and back again. In the photo, he still had the same icy blue eyes and ash grey hair.
仏頂面は変わらないけど
Don't be rude! He flicked my forehead. This dude really needs to learn not to hit people just because they said something he didn't like. Then again, I guess that applies to me too. To distract myself, I looked back at the photo. I could see a small girl next to Yoshi. She looked to be under 10 years old. Her light brown hair looked thick and soft, and she wore ribbons on either side of her head. Her pure white dress suited her doll-like aesthetic. It was my first time seeing her, yet for some reason she made me think of the
本
past.
当に不思議な目だね。
Her eyes were unlike anything I'd ever seen. Not like mine, not like Yoshi's, and of course not like my mother's. They had a shine that was all her
赤
own.
というよりピンクっぽいね。
See, that's what I keep saying. Why are they red? I ran a finger over her eyes. Her expression carried a hint of
と
sadness.
ても綺麗だ。
It was the honest truth of how I felt. She sparkled like a gem. If my mother saw her, she'd give her a big hug and say, "You look like a princess."
ねえ、どうして漁師は俺に構うの？
なんで今さら
I looked up at him.
初めのうちはこんな夜中に出歩くような子供に構ったりするのはよっぽどの暇人だからだと思ってたけど、でも本当はそうじゃなくて、何か重要な理由があるんだろう。
別に
He answered brusquely, avoiding his gaze. As usual, he sucked at hiding things. But he seemed to realize I had seen through him because he hastily shot
お
back.
前こそなんでそんなに俺の妹のことを知りたがるんだ。
アリスだから
Ha.
あ
というのもあるけど、本当のところは少し違う。俺が彼女のことを知りたがるのは、彼女が会ったこともないお姫様だからだよ。
あ
He repeated his question. This annoyed me. What was his problem?
何呆れた顔してんだよ。んな抽象的な表現でわかるか。
なら一生わからなくていいよ。
I turned my face away. The one time I tried to open up to him, he was too stupid to get it. Was it really that abstract? Immediately after the loud sigh, the chilly wind blew his cigarette smoke in my direction.
あいつがお姫様かどうかなんてわからねえが、あいつは俺よりずっと優秀だよ。親はそんなあいつを信頼しているし、可愛がってる。
漁師よりも漁師が都会じゃなく、こんな田舎で漁師になるための勉強をしているのは妹。
あ、
そうか。本当は漁師は漁師になんかなりたくなかったんだね。
まだ見習いだけどな。
I'm an unpaid intern.
見習いにすらなってねえか。
He let out a self-depreciating
つま
laugh.
り自分よりもずっと優秀なのに、女だからという理由で家業を継がなくてもいい妹にイラついているんだ。でも別に今の時代だったら女性の漁師なんて
I feel like I finally have to look up what the fuck they mean by hunters, because every time it gets mentioned as a job, I'm just so confused. Do they just literally mean, you know, people who take care of how much or how many deer and other, you know, animals like that live in the forest to make sure there's not too many and not too little and stuff? Is that what they mean? I didn't know any myself, but according to my mother, they definitely
漁師
existed.
のお母さんだって漁師の仕事についているんだろう。
I thought that mom was a doctor.
まあな。
Wait, what?
でも漁師の気持ちも少しわかる気がする。誰かと比べられるのはとても嫌なことだ。漁師は漁師なのにね。
ありがとな。
なんで俺？
なんとなくそんな気がした。
ねえ漁師。漁師が進む道に迷ってるなら俺がヒントをあげようか。
あ？
今から俺とゲームをしよう。
Oh.
ゲーム？
そう、ゲーム。これから俺は君に謎かけを行う。
俺が勝ったら？
俺の秘密を教えてあげる。
He paused to think for a moment.
もし俺が正解したらもうこんなことはやめるか？
こんなことって？
分かってんだろ。夜中にガキが一人で出歩くことだ。
そうだね。検討
I
するよ。
think about it, which means no.
検討じゃなくて約束だ。
約束するよ。
At this Yoshi let out a
分
sigh.
かったならお前のお遊びに付き合ってやるよ。
暇人だね。
お前もな。
それはとても理不尽なもの。それは誰にでも持てるもの。
But this one I was actually able to do myself. It's a
一瞬で
dream.
消えてしまう。それは誰にでも見えるもの。
I think this one is easier than the one with the
目を開
words.
ければ跡形もなくなくなってしまう。
なんだそれ。
謎かけだよ。
謎かけ。
His face stiffened and I couldn't help but
ま
laugh.
あ頑張って。
I think this one is pretty easy. From that night forward, Yoshi would ask questions about the riddle.
それはとても理不尽なもの。それは誰にでも持てるもの。だけど手に入れれば一瞬で消えてしまう。それは誰にでも見えるもの。
It's because of the I think this one is easier because of the when you open your eyes. Anyone can have one, but when you open your eyes it will vanish. Coupled with the it ceases to exist once you obtain it makes it really I don't know obvious that it's supposed to be a dream.
謎かけっていうが。
Meanwhile the one with the words that like
さっぱりわからねえ
I can't even get the full
これは
sentence
謎か
together
けなんだ
anymore,
から
but that one
自
didn't
分で
make
考
sense
え
to
な
me
けれ
at
ば
all.
意味がないだろう。な
When I went home that night, I left him with a disgruntled scowl on his face. Next night,
謎かけとは問いかけに対してトンチを聞かせた答えを要求する。
apparently he went and looked into the literal meaning of the word. He may have looked like a delinquent punk, but evidently he was actually a hard worker.
要はあれだろ。それが何なのか当てろっていうことだろ。
で答えは
Yet again, he failed to answer. Based on our conversations thus far, I had known he wasn't too well versed in this sort of thing, but I didn't realize he was this dense. It was really killing my fun.
しょうがない。じゃあ少しだけヒントを教えてあげる。それは別々の意味を持つもので同じ意味を持つものでもある。どう？わかった？
How is that a hint? It was the biggest hint I could possibly give him, yet he still didn't get it.
わかるわけねえだろ。
Okay, I'm with Yoshi on this. I don't know how that is a hint, but I already know the answer, so.
漁師は頭が悪いんだね。
Eh, he smacked me over the head. You're the one who can't answer a stupid riddle.
前に漁師は本をくれたけど漁師は本は読まないの？
Sulking, I rubbed my head.
本なら読むぞ。参考書とかいうクソつまんねえもんをな。
じゃあ子供の頃はどんな本を読んだ？
もう覚えてない。
なら思い出して。
それがヒントになるのかよ。
さあなるかもしれないしならないかもね。
なんだそりゃ。
答えがわかればわかるよ。
答えが分かってないから困ってるんじゃねえか。
Oh, my AP and Thesis of Themis are full.
やっぱり頭が悪い。
He smacked me again. Then the next night.
はい不正解。
Oh! Yet again, Yoshi failed to bring me the right
鈍い
answer.
ね漁師。
こういうのは苦手なんだよ。
頭が硬いんだよ。もっと柔軟に考えなきゃ。
柔軟にね。
So the nights passed as the Yoshi struggled to solve my riddle. It wasn't exactly exciting, but anything was preferable to the nights I spent here alone.
漁師は妹にせがまれて本を読んであげたことない？
Then one night after we talked about the riddle, I asked yet another question about his sister.
また妹の話か。
また妹の話だ。
He looked utterly aggravated. To be fair, I asked him questions about her every single night since he first mentioned her, so I could understand the irritation. But he couldn't help it, I needed to ask. Unfortunately, he didn't seem to have figured it out yet.
別にそんなこともなかったな。前に言っただろ。年が離れてる上に、そもそもあいつとは。
でも妹が本を好きだったことは知ってたんでしょ。きっと君の妹ならすぐに答えられたよ。
He didn't seem to appreciate the comparison because he scolded slightly. This was a feeling I could relate to painfully hard because I didn't like being compared to others either.
漁師は俺と似てるんだよ。赤いものが嫌いなことも、アリスにコンプレックスを抱いていることも。
意味がわからねえな。
And you're quick to lie too. Sadly, like all the things, our fun times together eventually came to an end.
ようやくわかった。
One night it finally happened.
それは誰にでも持てるもの。
Oh.
だけど、手に入れれば一瞬で消えてしまう。それは誰にでも見えるもの。だけど、目を開ければ跡形もなくなくなってしまう。答えは夢だ。
Yes!
正解。
Having finally guessed correctly, Ryoshi heaved a giant sigh of relief and shrank down into a little
よく
ball.
わかったね。一生当たらないと思ってた。
嘘つけ。
He grumbled up at me. Normally he was always looking down at me, so this made for a nice change of pace.
お前はずっと俺にヒントをくれてたんだな。
His voice carried a tiny hint of
お前が
amusement.
何を考えてるかわからないが、約束は約束だ。これでもうガキが夜遅く出歩くんじゃねえぞ。
漁師はなぜこんな子供が夜に出歩いてると思ってる？
Uh-oh, the music stopped. I couldn't let myself cling to him.
また問いかけか。いい加減。家にいたくないからだろ。
そうだ。漁師と一緒だよ。
I couldn't let myself ask for his help. If I cared about him at all, I was better off cutting ties entirely.
親に何かされてんのか。そうだったら。
違う。
My voice came out unusually sharp.
俺が母様との約束を破ったんだ。外に出てはいけないって言われてたのに、俺が破ってしまった。俺は悪い子なんだよ。母様に嫌われても
But
しょうがない。
is this when the mom is already dead?
お前の母親ってのはどこにいる？家か。
そうだよ。
しょうがねえ。行くぞ。
Hiroshi rose to his feet and offered me his hand.
お前の家だよ。このご時世。よそ様の家のことに突っ込むのは良くないと思ってたが、ここまで関わったんだから最後まで付き合うぞ。確かに約束を破ったのは悪いことかもしれないが、少なくとも俺はお前が悪いやつだなんて思わない。
本当に俺が悪かったら、
その時は俺が一緒に謝ってやる。
I rose to my feet without his
怪
assistance.
物と戦う者はその過程で自分自身も怪物になることのないように
Where
気
is
をつけな
the
くてはならない。
abyss thing from, actually?
深淵を覗くとき、深淵もまた
Like, it's such a big thing. Everyone knows that, ooh, if you gaze into the abyss will gaze back at you, but like, where is that from? I don't know.
なんだ急に。
知らない？漁師からもらった本に書いてあった言葉だ。
Hmm.
ああ、そういえばそんなことも書いてあったような気がするな。で、それがなんだ？
漁師は優しすぎるんだよ。
I couldn't drag him down with me. Despite all his nagging, he was a kind person deep down, and if he learned the truth, he would get over speaking to me.
おい、どこに？
おいでよ、漁師。正解を当てたご褒美だ。
Huh?
今から俺の秘密を見せ。
Uh-oh.
ようこそ俺の家へ。この家を訪れたのは漁師が初めてだよ。
これは。
As soon as I opened the door, Ryoshi started to gag. No surprise there. I was used to it since I lived here, but for a visitor it was probably a bit too much. After all, the whole house reeked of garbage and decay. I never wanted anyone to have to see this, but a promise was a promise.
ただいま母様。今日は友人を連れてきたよ。
As we walked inside, I called out to my mother sleeping in the living room. Naturally, I would need to introduce her to my new friends. Ryoshi froze on the spot, his face as white as a sheet.
早くこっちに来なよ。
You're sleepy now. Okay. Thank you for coming. Get some rest. Upon closer inspection, I realized his legs were shaking. No surprise there either. After all, Ryoshi had a weak stomach when it came to this sort of thing, so I really didn't blame him for feeling frightened. Thank you. His voice trembled.
漁師は変なことを言うんだね。
Hard to lose something I didn't have to begin with. Ever since the day I discovered the truth, I realized that my entire existence was a mistake.
ねえ、母様。
I called out to her as she slept. Naturally, she didn't answer. Ryoshi struggled to find
母
his
様だよ。
voice.
俺のたった一人の
Yeah,
母
okay,
親
she's
だ。
definitely already dead. His expression twisted. The way he stared at us, you would think he was looking at some kind of hideous
母
monster.
様。彼はアリス漁師って言うんだ。母様が大好きな物語の主人公の名前と同じだよ。漁師には妹がいるんだ。きっと母様が見たら喜ぶと思うよ。
ちょっと待て。
Ryoshi shouted.
よく聞け。それはお前の母親だったかもしれないが、今は違う。
違う？
お前がいくら語りかけても返事はしない。それはお前の母親じゃなくて、ただの死体だ。
And this I carefully examined my mother. There was no sign of her former beauty beneath all this ugliness.
死か。ねえ漁師。死というものは何だろう。確かに美しかった母はもういない。けれど自分の記憶には美しかった頃の母が。それでも母様は死んでいると思う？
当たり前だ。どんなに人の記憶に残ったとしても、人間は器がなければ生きてることにならないんだよ。
I laughed through my nose. Classic Ryoshi.
器がなければ生きてることにならないというのなら、俺も本当は死んでいるのかもしれないね。
何を言って。
Just then I spotted the apple pie on the
そうだ。
table.
母様が作ってくれたアップルパイがあるんだ。漁師も食べる？
The pie was her specialty, but now it was.
よせ、やめろ。
I ignored his warnings and took a bite. No matter how many times I try, I'll never get used to this taste. That's got to be... Oh, with each bite I fought the urge to puke. But ultimately my stomach rejected it anyway. Tears blurred my vision.
こんなもの食べられないよね。
The thing's got to be moldy and... Ugh. After all, the apple pie was as rotten as my mother's corpse.
こっちに来い。
The next thing I knew, Ryoshi grabbed me by the arm. Considering how frightened he was, I was surprised he was still trying to protect me. With a smile, I shook my
漁師
head.
も分かっただろう。俺はとっくに狂っているんだよ。
そんなこと。
Who killed mother?
ん？
俺だよ。俺が母様を殺したんだ。
The day I disobeyed her and went outside, I came back to find her staring at me with cold, unfeeling eyes. A chill ran down my spine. Then my heart began to pound and my palms started to sweat. I put a hand on her shoulder and called out to her, but she didn't move a muscle and her body felt like ice. I couldn't believe it. I refused to believe it. But real life was not that merciful. I was weak and powerless to do anything. In the end, Snow White was neither a princess nor a prince.
それでもまだ漁師は俺を助けたいと思う。
当たり前だ。どんな事情があったか知らないが、言っただろう。確かにお前は口は悪いし、態度もそっけなくて気まぐれで 本当に可愛げのないガキだよ。俺はガキは嫌いだし、お前と話しててもそれは変わらない。でもな、俺もお前と会うたびにだんだんとお前と一緒にいると楽しいって思うようになったんだよ。なぜかって、そりゃお前が人のことを思いやれるいいやつだからに決まってんだろ。お前はいつでも人のことを気にかけていただろう。俺のことも会ったこともない妹のこともな。俺は年は離れてはいるが、お前のことを友人だと思っている。弟みたいに思ってる。お前に何があったのか俺にはわからない。だがな、話を聞くことくらい俺にだってできるんだよ。
ありがとう。俺も漁師のことを友人だと思っているよ。
He was the first and only person to acknowledge me as an
漁
individual.
師は漁師の仕事に向いていないと言っていたけれど、俺は向いてると思ったよ。漁師は無神経だし、無遠慮だし、おせっかいで鈍感だけど、
First get some insults out there and then compliment
人の
the
弱さを知っている。
people. That's how you do it.
何も血を見るだけが漁師の仕事じゃないしね。
だったら
I shook my head and stepped away from
だ
him.
けど残念だ。
あ、
Huh?
何言って。
I picked up a piece of the apple pie on the
これは
table.
何だかわかる？毒リンゴだよ。有名な童話にあるだろう。白い雪みたいなお姫様の話。
She was one of my mother's favorite princesses, and she was my namesake.
まあ俺は男だからお姫様じゃないけどね。
In a fairy tale, the queen transforms into an old hag to give Snow White an apple. When she takes a bite, she falls to the floor and never opens her eyes again. Poor sweet princess, rejected by her own mother.
これを食べれば白雪という存在はいなくなる。
いなくなるって。
Ryoshi scoffed. He didn't seem to understand what I meant. Then he took a step forward. He froze in place. Come to think of it, this was quite possibly the loudest I'd ever shouted in my entire life. I looked him in the eyes and spoke, my voice perfectly
これで
calm.
よかったんだ。俺がいれば俺以外の誰かを不幸
I
に
have
させて
so
しまう。
many thoughts that I'm keeping until we actually finish this route to say them, and it's like I want to say
俺
it.
がこの辛い気持ちを引き受けることで他の誰かが楽になれるのならそれでいい。漁師、今までありがとう。少しの間だったけど漁師のおかげで俺だけが知っている楽しい記憶が増えた。タバコ。
What's the thinking? I
気づいてたよ。
am thinking a lot, and I want to say it, but I have to.
漁師はさ、自分が両親と似ていないから好きでもないタバコを吸って一生懸命似せようとしているんだろ。どんな自分でも自分は本当の子供なんだって認めてほしかったんだよね。その気持ちはわかるよ。だって俺も同じだから。
I wanted her to see me as me, not as a princess or prince, but as Snow White.
君の妹アリス・ユリカに一度会ってみたかったな。
A princess I never knew, a princess with pretty eyes. Every time Ryoshi told me about her, my curiosity deepened. She was the fairy tale protagonist my mother always wanted.
バイバイ。
And with that, I took a bite of the apple pie. The poison coursed through my body and consumed my consciousness.
白雪。
Ryoshi screamed my name. No one else had ever called me that, not even my mother. As I began to black out, his voice slowly faded. Blood made him uncomfortable, yet he approached me nonetheless. I wanted to reach out to him, but I couldn't. My body refused to cooperate. And then everything went dark. Just so you guys are aware, we are still on our way to the happy ending. I don't know how, but... Where am I?
よ、
Oh wait, that's not me, excuse me.
久しぶりに目覚めた気分はどうだ？
彼女は
彼女って
アリス・ユリカだよ。君の妹の
Looking forward to the mega happy ending.
ユリカ。
Oh, good morning, Snow White. Breakfast is ready.
君は本当のアリス・ユリカ。
Yep, in the flash.
じゃあ夢の中であった。
Aww. Why are you crying?
だって俺が夢から目覚めたら彼女は消えてしまう。本物じゃなかったかもしれないけど、半分は本物だったかもしれないけど、それでも俺が今まで話していたのは。
So you fell in love with the Yurika in your dream, huh?
そうだよ。
So tell me, you said you always wanted to meet me in person, right? So why didn't you ever summon me as a character in your story?
それは
I know you could have. All you would have had to do was turn to the mirror and ask. One can say that a dream is a reproduction or recreation of our memories. In most cases, the people and places that appear in your dreams are taken wholesale from your past. Dreams can give you knowledge you didn't already have, but they can use your past experiences to create something new, right? I mean, your mom and my brother were there, right? So if you wanted to see me so badly, why was I left out?
俺が君を登場させなかったのは多分怖かったからだ。君は俺にとって俺は君のことを知っているけど、それは人から聞かされた知識に過ぎない。俺は君と実際に話したこともなければ芸能人と一緒だよ。画面越しに君という存在で確かに自分と同じ世界にいることを知っているけど、友達にもましてや。
Well then, what's the harm in being friends with me in your dreams?
それは嫌だったんだ。俺は君を美化することは嫌だった。きっとこんな性格でこんな風に振る舞うだろう。想像するのは簡単だよ。でもそうすると君の真実の姿を知らずに、そうなると実際に君と会った時、
Well, he's right though.
現実の君
If you idealize someone too much, the real version will never measure up.
おかしいよね。俺は二度と目覚めないつもりでいたのに。もしかしたら俺は君にいつか会えるかもしれないと。
Listen, Snow White, I really love you, but I want a happy ending now so I can say my many thoughts. You did. You met the real non-idealized Yurika Arisu.
夢の中でね。知ってるよ。君がずっと外側から語りかけていたんだって。だから
Thank you for the
俺
high
は
time.
夢の中でアリス・ユリカに出会えたんだ。
What do you think of Dream Me
見
anyhow?
た目はおとなしいのに、おてんばでよく喋って想像しくて、とても魅力的な女の子だった。
Do I seem any different from her?
違わないよ。でも肝心なところが全然違う。
What's that?
思い出だよ。
Oh.
君にはなくて彼女にはあるもの。そしてその思い出こそが彼女を好きになった理由だ。夢の中の出来事を思い出というのは少し妙な気もするけれどね。どうして笑ってるの？
I'm just happy to hear that you love me. Rest assured, I'm still the same Yurika Arisu you knew.
どういうこと？
夢はまだ続いてるってことだ。
Huh?
謎かけは得意なんじゃなかったのか？
漁師。得意だけど今は少し頭がぼんやりしてるんだ。
Well, you only just woke up.
目覚めたってやっぱりここは現実なんじゃ。夢が続いているなら何から目覚めたって言うんだよ。
悪夢から。
悪夢。
白雪、お前はずっと悪夢を見続けていたんだよ。6年前、お前は魔法の鏡を覗いてしまった。そして真実を知った。なぜ自分が母親に嫌われてしまったのか。なぜ不思議な夢を見たのか。それは自身のアイデンティティを揺るがすほどの。お前は口は悪いがいいやつだ。お前は人の気持ちがわかるから、時に自分を犠牲にして相手を優先してしまう。真実を知ったお前は辛くて苦しい記憶と感情を一人で抱え込んだまま。俺としてはお前がそれでいいならいいと思っていた。眠ることで嫌なことに蓋できるのならそれも正しい選択だと思った。それじゃあ何も解決しないことも分かっていながらな。
Excuse me.
白雪、ただ眠ってるだけでは心の傷は治らないんだよ。夢の中でも食事が取れなかったのはそのせいだ。お前はトラウマを抱えたまま
Yeah. At this
悪夢に
point,
変わってしまった。
who in this game is not
そんなお
traumatized?
前の心を救うただ一つの方法、それはお前が会い
No,
たいと願ってい
actually,
た
you know, I think the
運
you
命の
know
お姫様に出会う
normally
こと
to
は
heal trauma, you should go to see a therapist.
でも普通ならそれ
I
は
will
叶わない。
continue saying this every fucking time.
なぜなら
Love is
お前は
not
眠って
the
いるから
answer.
だ。
You can always be more trauma. Yes. This game is like, oh,
けど彼
you
女は
wanted some trauma?
不可能を可能に変え言わなくても今はわかるよ。
Oh, that wasn't enough drama yet.
鏡を利用したんだね。それに俺の中にあるアリス・エリカの記憶も。
ああ、そうだ。鏡はお前を不幸にさせたけどお前を救ってくれ
And
た。
a little trauma for you. And a little trauma for
Naze?
you.
ユリカに救われたはずの俺がまだ夢を見ているのか。きっと本当の俺がまだ眠ったままなんだね。俺はいつの間にか夢の中で夢を見ていた。だから新しい物語が読めなかったんだ。とりあえず理屈は分かった。でも夢はまだ続いているということはなら俺はまだ鏡を見ているの？
How about that? Why don't we step outside, Snow White? Does Cerebi even exist here? No, I don't think so. I really feel like it doesn't. Because Yurika's always like, oh, don't worry, I will save you with my love. And I'm just sitting here like...
人がたくさんいる。どうして？
Because you let me into your heart. Just kidding. Man, I wish. Snow White, you have a lot more memories than you realize. You just don't remember them. You know the world is full of light, full of people. After all, you love to read about it. Ow. So how's it feel being outside?
とても。
Trust me, the real world is even better.
でもそうしたら今度こそ。
Yeah, probably. And when you wake up, you see the real me. Will you stop loving me?
それはありえない。俺は君のことが好きだよ。だってずっと憧れていたんだ。
But it's not the same as love.
俺が君に恋したのは夢の中で君と出会ってからだ。
Remember what I told you? Love and being in love are not the same thing. Love is selfless.
覚えているよ。どんな欠点でも
Many fairy tale princes actually have some
Don't
crazy
let me
experience.
do
That's
it.
very true. Fairy tales are some of the most fucked up stories I've ever read in my life. And while I enjoy Disney movies of fairy tales, I do think, like, if you only know the Disney version for some, like, for some of them, it's just like, you're missing out on a lot of gruesome details. Right.
君は夢から覚めても俺のそばにいて
Like, fucking take Cinderella.
俺のことを
For example, the sisters cut off their toes and their heels to fit into the shoes. The Disney movie won't show you that. Yes, even after the dream ends, I'll still love
だ
you.
から俺も君を
Possible.
簡単に言うよね。それって実はすごく難しいことだよ。
Yeah, I know. So I won't beg you to.
わかった。俺は夢から覚めても君のそばにいて君のことを好きになる。
Aww.
君を愛してるから。
Cool, she says.
お腹が空いた。
Let's go back and get you some breakfast. Since we're all eating it together, I bet it'll taste great.
そうだね、ゆりか。君の作った料理がずっと食べたかったんだ。
リンゴは禁断の果実でもあると言われている。
I haven't seen you in quite a while, Mr. Wizard.
禁断の果実とは知恵の木の果実のことだ。知恵の木の実を食べると神々に等しき善悪の知識を得ることができるらしい。すべてを知ることは必ずしも良いことではない。現に禁断の果実を食べたせいで、そして人間は必ず死ぬようになり、男には労働の区域が与えられる。慰めてくれるの？君はいい子だね。それはさておき、毒リンゴによって悪夢を見るようになった王子様はお姫様のキスによって救われました。おめでとう、ヒロインちゃん。いつまでもずっと幸せに。
You say that, but on my way here you killed me like 5 times. Bitch. Once upon a time in a looking-glass world there lived a peculiar boy. He was slight of build, with skin as white as snow and lips as red as an apple. He was so beautiful he looked like a prince from a picture book no one else could possibly compare. But he was unaware of just how handsome he was. Why? Because he never went into the outside world. The boy lived with his mother in a little cabin in the woods. His mother was a beautiful woman with skin as white as snow, cheeks as red as a rose, and hair as dark as ebony wood. She was a child at heart. She loved flowers, fairy tales, and all things romantic, magical, and sparkly, and her son loved her very much. One day she said to him, "Now listen here, you have to watch the house while I'm gone, understand? And if anyone knocks on the door, don't let them in no matter what." The boy obeyed his mother, stayed inside, and read books all day long. Frills, lace, and ribbons, a big castle, pretty dresses. Real life wasn't as fanciful as the picture books, but he was happy living with his mother. One day, his mother took him outside with her for the first time. Everything was new and exciting, and everyone he met was very kind to him. He wondered why he received such special treatment, but when he looked in the mirror, he realized that he and his mother looked very different. From there, everything around him changed. His clean house slowly filled with trash, and his beautiful mother steadily grew more and more weary, and as her beauty faded, she came to resent her son. Now listen here, you're not like all the other kids, you're a precious angel. That's why you mustn't play outside. The world is filled with wicked wolves, and you can never trust them, so if one of them talks to you, be sure to ignore them. You have to watch the house while I'm gone, understand? And if anyone knocks on the door, don't let them in no matter what. More than ever, she refused to let her son outside. Meanwhile, the boy continued to obey her and stay home, and yet whenever she came home from work, she would yell at him. He didn't understand why she was angry at him, he didn't know what had changed her. Eventually, the boy began to have dreams about the outside world. In his dreams, he went around freely. Then one day, he awoke to find himself outside. He didn't know how he got there. Frightened, he went home. But when he got there, he found his mother's haggard corpse. With no one else to turn to, the boy simply continued to live with her dead body. His favorite treat, apple pie, was sitting on a table, but one bite was enough to make him sick. He was hungry, but he couldn't eat. He was too afraid to eat. Then he sensed someone in the mirror, and when he apprehensively looked over, he found an ugly, grimy boy staring back at him. So he asked the mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, whose reflection do you hold?" At this, the boy in the mirror replied, "It's me." Instantly, the boy realized the truth. He realized why his mother never wanted him to leave home, and why she seemed to reject him whenever she laid eyes on him. It was because he wasn't her real child. Unable to bear it, the boy fled from the house. As he washed himself in a lake, a young man appeared. When he asked the boy for his name, the boy introduced himself as Snow White. The young man, Ryoshi, was very kind to Snow White. Ryoshi was born with unusual looks, and Snow White felt he could relate. Ryoshi explained that he had a younger sister who, like him, looked different from everyone else. When Snow White saw a picture of her, he thought she looked like a princess from a picture book. After a few days, Snow White confessed everything to Ryoshi and bid him a farewell. Snow White was planning to travel deeper to the Looking Glass Vault and never return. Then he took a bite of his mother's apple pie, collapsed to the floor, never to open his eyes again. More than a decade later, Snow White lived a quiet life as the prince of the Looking Glass Vault, a dream where everything was topsy-turvy. In the dream, his mother loved him, and Ryoshi was there to help him. Now and then he would visit the lake and gaze out at the world under the water, but he had no intention of ever going back. After all, the Looking Glass World reflected everything he wanted to see. He decided he was happy in a world that gave him everything he wanted, even if it was all an illusion. Besides, he knew that nothing good would happen if he turned to the outside world. However, on his way home from the lake one night, he encountered the princess he had seen in his dreams. At first he was alarmed to see that she had grown up, but as they got to know one another, they discovered the truth about each other. The princess had learned of Snow White through Ryoshi, and so she had manifested in his dream in order to save him. Eventually, she realized that every single person within the Looking Glass World was a mirror reflection of Snow White himself, and so the mirror began to crack. The luxurious mansion transformed into a little cabin full of trash, and the beautiful prince was reduced to an ugly, grimy boy. But the princess didn't care one whit, and so she woke him with a kiss. When he opened his eyes, for some reason he found he was still dressed as a prince. Hastily, he searched for the princess and soon found her happily making breakfast. Then Ryoshi arrived and explained the situation. When Snow White realized he was still dreaming, he feared that perhaps he was still talking to his own reflection, but the princess took him outside and said, "Even after the dream ends, I'll still love you." And so, with a kiss from the princess, the nightmare turned into a sweet dream and the prince was saved. Wow, Duolingo just made a sound the same second I took a screenshot. I will get a copyright strike if I let that song play. I'm sorry. Sorry for the wait. Here's the hot fruit punch you ordered.
ありがとう。
Are you sure this is all? There's plenty of other stuff.
これが良かったんだ。確かにアップルパイも好きだけど、それは母様が俺のために作ってくれたから好きだったに過ぎない。これは君が初めて俺のために作ってくれたものだろ。だからこれからはホットフルーツポンチが一番俺の好きなものだ。
But you haven't even tried it yet.
わかるよ。確定事項だと言ってもいい。好きな人の手料理なんだ。たとえまずくても美味しいって言うよ。
If it tastes like puke, then you better tell me, mister. How else am I supposed to improve?
わかった。まずいときは素直にまずいって言うよ。というわけで食べさせて。
Right here?
ここで。そんなに注意深く周りを確認しなくても漁師はいないよ。彼はああ見えて空気が読める。今頃どこかでタバコでも吸ってるんじゃない？それに見られたっていいじゃないか。俺と君は恋人同士なんだから。
Dating?
嫌なの？
Of course I do.
じゃあほら。
That's funny. They said they're in love with each other so many times, but she's like, we're dating? What? Say, How is it?
甘い。
Well, yeah, it's fruit punch.
でもさ
Well, yeah, it's fruit punch. You don't like it?
気になる
Tell me, I'm dying.
なら君も食べてみればいいんじゃないか
Huh? I miss yoga. Oh! Oh! Her eyes are gigantic.
どうお味の方は
Really sweet.
そう
We
だね
actually get to see more of her
すごく美味しいよ
waitress outfit. Finally.
どうしたの
Diane, totally platonic homie told me way. Aw. Do you like kisses, my friends?
好きだよ
Mwah.
するのもされるのもね
I'm so glad this game actually gives us kiss CGs, but they do kiss and not just apparently they're kissing, but like their faces are not even close to each other. Also, I'm still fucking mad at Cafe Enchanted that Mr. Hatless did not get a kiss. Who cares that he doesn't have a hat? He deserves a kiss.
君は自分からするのはいいの
Only
に
bros being dudes though, my
され
homie.
るのは苦手
Yo.
なんだ
We out here, homie. I just wasn't expecting it, that's all.
君も不意打ちだったけど俺も君の店で働こうかな
What?
晴れて俺も自由の身なんだし
Hey, he wants to do
これからは
stuff?
好きなことをしてみようか
Wow,
な
you're
って
motivated to work? Wow, who are you?
俺の好きなことは本を読むことだけど
Where did my
そ
Snow
れじゃあ
White
今まで
go?
と何も変わらないからね他に興味があることなんて特にないけど君が楽しそうに兄弟の話をしているときになんとなくいいなって思う
Oh, Snow White.
あでも俺何もできないよ
The Chad lips and lips action.
料理
Exactly.
も掃除も洗濯も針仕事も
Can sit there and be pretty.
王子様だったからねでもやってみるよ俺は不器用だからうまくできないかもしれないけど
It's okay, you just have to get used to
何
it.
度も何度も失敗するかもしれないけどできるまで努力する何度も挑戦するいつまでも君におんぶに抱っこじゃ格好がつかないだろ俺は君の王子様なんだから君の前ではかっこよく振る舞いたいんだ
And they lived happily ever after. Yay! Nope, nope. There we go! We did it! We actually finished Snow White's route! Holy fuck! Excuse me. Okay, wait. Okay. Number one, I can't believe that was almost another 3 hours. Granted, I did go off about different topics in between, but still, that was like at least another 2 hours just for the end of this route. So, good thing we did stop on Sunday. The second thing, this is just me theorizing, so I don't know, but I think what I think, because this game has a lot of, you know, trauma, mental illness stuff. This sounds really rude if I say it like that, but and the thing about Snow White looking in the mirror and seeing that silhouette that looks like Alice, the mom saying Alice as the name, and then going she wants her son, and then Snow White repeatedly saying I don't know, he's not her real son, and him still being asleep, you know, woken from the nightmare, but the real me still being asleep. You know what that tells me, or what I think is happening, is that and also the stuff about Snow White saying that if the others cannot be happy as long as he exists. You know what that makes me think of? That all of them are personalities of Alice. Like multiple personalities. And Snow White is the one that is out there and has all the trauma. Because I don't know how the others work. Like, not necessarily, but at least with Snow White, I think it's really extreme that you can see it. That's what I think. That's what I think. That all of them are like personalities of Alice. And Yurika is trying to wake the real Alice. I mean, we don't know what has happened with the real Alice except that maybe he's asleep. Which is why I keep saying that the introduction in all of these games where we meet Alice in a complete darkness, that's why I keep thinking like, I think it's Alice's dream. It's Alice's dream, and then Yurika is in there to get him out of there. And that's why she has to peer through his different layers of personalities to get to the real him and get him out of that darkness he has chosen to bury himself in for whatever reason. Now, I don't know what happens in the wizard's route because I cannot place him because the wizard and Alice have interacted in the bad endings here in Snow White's route. And I cannot make heads or tails of their conversations, but that's what I think, but that's just a theory. We will see about it. We still have the wizard's route left, obviously, and we also have the entire 4th game left. So that's going to be fun. I'm just looking at the guide for the wizard and like, holy fuck, that's gonna be fun. Because all of his choices are literally just yes, no, no, yes, yes, no. I'm gonna fucking die. If you do all of it in one go, okay, but oh man. I don't trust the guy. Finally great, I'm still a man, you know, loved it, but I can't forgive that. That's a mood. It's just a theory, a new theory, exactly. No, but that's what I think right now. That's what I think. Like, especially with this one. They've really hinted toward it. Because it's always the same stuff. Like, we started... Make a screenshot of the guide, mark the ones you did. That's a good idea. I always just write down which ones I chose on a piece of paper that I have lying here. No, but like, remember when we started with Red Riding Hood? There was the same speed with the mom, and then, but then Red Riding Hood's entire story delved into that thing with Wolfie's grandma. And then, who was next? Cinderella. Cinderella was with him not actually having all that money. But then he was in that cabin. Then, who was next? Who was after Cinderella? Gretel. Gretel was also all in that one cabin. I mean, it's always, obviously it's always the same places, because why would they make more of them? you could argue that it's just okay, they have one asset, why not use it? But like, I think it's not them not having more than one asset for a place, but just I think it's story related. That's why they're all in the same place all the time, and that's why they have the same experiences to an extent, with the mom especially. With the, oh, there's wolves out there, the wicked wolves, be careful, you're not allowed to go out. Then they come home one day and something horrible has happened. Like with Snow White. Yeah, with Snow White we saw it. Because Snow White is the one that took on all the trauma, the personality, I'm just saying, the personality that took on all the trauma of finding the mom dead at home. And the reason he wakes up outside somewhere is because, you know, Snow White falls asleep to dream about the outside world. Well, if Snow White as a personality falls asleep, doesn't that just mean another personality would be fronting? That one may go outside. Maybe that one was Red Riding Hood. You know, Red Riding Hood would go outside to the lake all the time. It would also explain why Yoshi was so confused when he first met him, because like the Yoshi would know him as Red Riding Hood. Maybe. From that one time with the thing with Wolfie's grandma. Or maybe that one, well, I don't know where to place it exactly. But it's one of these things like, to an outsider, the person would look exactly the same. But the personality inside would be different, right? So the outsider wouldn't be able to tell and be like, oh, hi, I know you. And then the personality would be like, I don't know you. Who are you? I'm da-da-da. And you would be like, wait. Because you know this person who looks like this as someone else? Well, maybe, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely off the mark and I'm just talking shit. I don't know yet. I still have a bunch of the game left to play to find out. But would you rate Snow White on a submissive and breedable scale? Not at all. Because he looks too young. Like, I'm not sure if he's supposed to be the same age as Yurika, so technically he should be 19, but he looks too young. So I wouldn't put him on the scale. Sorry. He looks too young for me. I'm not... He looks too young for me. I wouldn't put him on that scale. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents on the story right now and what I'm thinking. So we did not actually get started on the wizard this time, which... Okay. Just going to have to do that next time. Now, the question is just... Whose life? Who can I rate? Oh, lots of people doing art tonight, damn. Like Suchi-san confirmed. That's not what I meant, but like... Hey, yo. This guy looks like he's no older than 14. I'm not going to put him on the submissive and breedable scale, Jesus. You know who's submissive and breedable? Tears of Themis, Artem. Tears of Themis is a lot of fun. Yeah, Blue is doing art. Good night. Yeah, hold on. So many people doing art. I cannot watch every single person doing art. Ah! Jesus. Everyone's drawing all at once. Damn, I cannot watch all of you. How dare you? Maybe if I ever figure out how to, you know, I don't know, stream from my iPad, maybe I would try. to do an art stream as well. I don't know what I would draw, but maybe I would try it. Just get 10 screens. 10 screens to watch everyone at once. You know, you say that, but actually, I use 4 different browsers. Not browsers, but like, how do you say it? I split my screen. So I have 4 different windows of my browser open at all times. For all the different pages I use at once. If I had 10 screens, I think that would just be a little too much. Rip skip on the adorable precious cinnamon roll scale. 500,000 wife out of 10. Nu on the Goblin Detective scale, gimme candy out of 10. Ha! Ha! What? Ha! You are adorable. No, you! No, you! I can't believe it's both our birthdays next week. Holy fuck, it's my birthday next week. I don't want to make too big of a promise, because last time I made a promise for a special stream, I, you know, couldn't really go for it because of the vaccine. And guess what? I've said it a lot of times, but I'm getting my 2nd vaccine shot next week. So, no promises I'll be able to make a big fucking stream for my birthday. I'm very sorry. I mean, maybe 2nd vaccine shot will not get me as harsh as the 1st one, I'm hoping, because I don't want that again, not gonna lie. But we're gonna do something fun for my birthday. I'm gonna try very hard to do something for my birthday. Yeah, Leo gang, yeah! Yes, all the time. All the time. Especially because of Corona. You cannot fucking meet anyone. Not even close friends, because we're all like, no, let's not do that. Let's stay safe. Because not all of us have gotten both of our vaccine shots yet, so we're just waiting it out, but it's not nice to not be able to see your closest friends for almost 2 years. Wait, that's not true. Wait, a year. No. But you know what I mean, you know, since Corona started. But yeah, it's a random thought during the day. I know that feeling. But we did that. We sure did that now. It's been almost a year and a half. Yes, thank you. My brain is gone. We're going... I'm gonna go rate blue. Blue is drawing. Drawing is always fun, and we love blue. Let me... How do I do this? Rate... Ugh. I cannot type. I'm a dumbass, I cannot type. There we go. Here's the rate message. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I wish you all a very good night. Let me switch to the ending screen. And put on the ending song. And then I'll see you guys on Friday, where we're going to be playing Great Ace Attorney. Maybe with a guest who will help me read out everything so I don't absolutely die like I did last weekend. Maybe not, we shall see. Blue is Kato, yes, blue is very cute. I wish you all a very, very good night. Thank you so much for coming. Good night, and bye-bye. And Rip, you're too early. We haven't rated yet. Good night.